Hey, Judy, what's wrong? It's nothing, I reply. It's a cold day in December, and Christmas music fills the streets. I pause to admire a shiny tree ornament. My husband, Dan, walks a few steps ahead, his breath fogging the air. He turns back, smiling softly at me, his ears red from the chill. I adore the way he looks at me. I think to myself. Let's go home. I made hot stew for dinner, it's perfect for a cold night. That sounds great, he says. We hold hands, laughing, as we walk home. A familiar Christmas song drifts through the air. I'm Judy, I say. What I'm about to share is a strange Christmas miracle I experienced a few years ago, and the events that led to it. You're late, Dan snaps as I walk into the apartment. His sharp words make me cringe. Where have you been? I just went to the nearest deli to grab the hot sauce we ran out of. It was a freezing day in mid-December, and just a short while ago, he'd sent me out into the cold without my coat. Do you think I'm a fool? I work hard to pay the bills. When I come home, I expect dinner to be ready and perfect. Can't you even handle that? I stare at the floor as he rants. No hot sauce? How am I supposed to eat chicken wings without it? And why do you always look so lazy? You're messing everything up. I'd hurried out earlier, bought the sauce, and rushed back, but now he's even angrier. You went to a deli? Are you crazy? It's cheaper at the supermarket. He glares at me, pointing at the bottle like it's some kind of crime. I can't help but answer back. The supermarket's farther away, and the food would have gone cold. I didn't have time for that. Besides, the chicken wings tasted fine even without the sauce. Are you seriously talking back to me? He roars. Where's your apology? I already said I'm sorry. But my response only fuels his rage. He shouts at me for another hour before flipping his plate of chicken wings and storming out to eat elsewhere. A few days later, I visited my childhood neighborhood to clean my parents' house, which was up for sale. I stopped by to see an elderly woman I've always called Grandma. Grandma, your predictions have always been right, until now, I tease her. I don't make predictions, she says with a mysterious smile. But you do, I insist, laughing. You've always known what's going to happen, like when you told me not to go to the mall, and later that day, lightning struck it, or when you told me to go outside on a sunny day, and my house was robbed while I was out. If I'd been home, I might have been hurt, or worse. Grandma just chuckles, brushing it off. I pause, my tone growing serious. You even helped me prepare for my mom's illness. Your advice gave her peace of mind before she passed. She told me you said I'd have something wonderful happen on a Christmas not too far away. It made her happy to think I'd have a bright future. I think back to how Dan proposed to me on Christmas Day, believing it was the special moment Grandma predicted. But now, I feel stuck. Dan has changed so much since we got married. He gets angry over little things, like the temperature of the food or how I clean. He criticizes everything I do, leaving me feeling small and trapped. I don't even want to go home, I admit to Grandma, my voice cracking. Now, she says gently, it's getting late. Don't you need to cook dinner? Her words feel like a soft nudge, but they still sting. I stand up reluctantly. You'll be okay, she says. Just stand your ground and stay true to yourself. Life will get better. One day, you'll have a Christmas so joyful you'll feel like jumping for joy. God is watching. Her words lighten my heart just a little. Is that a prophecy? I ask, turning back to her. Grandma smiles mysteriously. Let's just say I'm an old woman sharing wisdom. On my way home, I try to shake off my doubts. If I work harder, maybe Dan will change, I tell myself, but things only get worse. It became normal for Dan to bark orders at me, make dinner, give me a massage, iron my shirt. He never said a kind word, only criticism. One night, his temper flared up again. Who do you think you are? He snapped. Why, what did I do? I asked, confused and weary. But once again, I was left questioning why this marriage had turned into a constant storm of anger and hurt. You don't even have the decency to greet me when I get home, Dan yelled as soon as he walked in. Who do you think you are, staying out so late? Now I have to heat up my food in the microwave. God darn you. I sighed deeply. I told you I had a co-op meeting tonight. I even left a note on the table. Shut up. That's no excuse for lazy cooking, he snapped. Lazy? What are you talking about? I made the main dish and all the sides, just like always, I replied, trying to stay calm. If it's not freshly cooked, it's cutting corners, he barked back. His reasoning was ridiculous. I should always come first. Above anyone or anything. I've been putting up with you. You're my wife, you're supposed to obey me. That's insane, I blurted, shocked by his entitled demands, but he stood tall, puffed up with self-importance, and sneered at me. You have no family, no one else to rely on, you can't survive on your own, you're nothing without me, you should shut up and worship me. If you can't do that, I'll divorce you, he said, smirking like he enjoyed breaking me down. Then he sat down and ordered, now, give me a foot massage. I bit back my frustration, holding myself together as best I could. If I fought back, it would only make things worse, and most importantly, I had nowhere else to go, not in the freezing sleet outside. So, I sat on the floor and gave him the massage, swallowing my pride like I had so many times before. This cycle went on until one day, while grocery shopping, I suddenly collapsed from intense pain. An ambulance rushed me to the hospital. When the doctor explained my condition, I couldn't make sense of it at first. This virus is transmitted through sexual contact, the doctor said gently. Your husband was also tested, and both of you have it. You probably didn't notice, because you had no symptoms. Unfortunately, you'll need surgery, and I'm very sorry to tell you this, but your chances of having children in the future are extremely slim. The words hit me like a freight train, my mind went blank. Dan quickly followed the doctor out of the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I can't have a baby, I whispered to myself, over and over, as the weight of it sank in. Slowly, the shock turned into an overwhelming darkness inside me. I needed answers. Forcing myself to stand on unsteady legs, I tried to follow them. Wait, doctor, Dan, I called out, but I froze mid-step when I overheard their conversation. And in that moment, I realized something that would change everything. So, does everyone need to get tested? Exactly, they all need treatment at once, or it'll just keep coming back to you, the doctor explained. Do they even know what the test is for? Dan asked, his voice persistent. Of course they do, the doctor replied, clearly getting annoyed with him. I sat quietly, feeling hopeless, as I listened to their conversation. It became clear that Dan had been seeing at least 3 different women while we were married. I looked at a picture of my mom on the wall and whispered, I need help. I know he's not a good husband now, but maybe he'll change if we have a baby. I tried to hold on to Grandma's words. I would struggle now, but eventually, I'd be happy. I thought they would be my good luck charm, but I was wrong. Dan didn't seem to care about me at all. He was always focused on his own health, going to the hospital for his checkups, while I suffered in silence. I longed for a family of my own, a husband, kids, and a home. Tears streamed down my face as I held the picture of my mom. Mom, I sobbed quietly. Suddenly, Dan appeared. What are you sitting around for? Dinner's not ready. He threw papers on my head as I sat there. These are divorce papers, he said, his voice cold. This is your punishment for ignoring me and making a fuss. You're so depressing, he sneered. I'm ready to divorce you anytime. You're the one who will suffer, not me. If you don't want that, start doing your duty. I'm not slacking, I mumbled, too tired to argue anymore. Oh, there's one more thing, no living expenses for you this month, he added with a smirk. He stepped closer. I'm giving you a chance to reflect. Know your place. If you don't obey me, it's over. Once he finished his rant, he left the room, looking satisfied with himself. Divorce. The word hung in the air, my emotions numbed as my eyes fell on the papers with Dan's signature. Mom, I've decided, I whispered, wiping away my tears. I looked at her smiling picture. Please watch over me. For a while, I stayed quiet, living with Dan as usual. He treated me like a servant, taking out his anger on me. I argued sometimes, but mostly, I endured the silence. And one day, as he began another tantrum, I knew it was time to act. I told you already, I can't eat lukewarm salad, and cold stew? Forget it. How long does it take for you to get it right? I sighed inside, then decided to follow through with my plan. If I don't obey, you'll divorce me, right? Right, at least you remember that. If you don't want me to leave, you better fix your stupidity. He leaned back, satisfied with himself. You're a bit slow, aren't you? What? He blinked in surprise at my response. What did you just say? You say the same things over and over. Do you even know any other words? All you ever say is divorce. It's sad, really. What the heck? Let's get a divorce. I'm fine with it. I'll be a stranger to you, just like you want. His jaw dropped in disbelief. Are you serious? I smiled calmly and said, goodbye. I took off the apron I had bought when we got married, folded it, and placed it on the table with the house keys on top. I looked at him one last time before picking up my pre-packed suitcase and walking out the door. What the heck is going on? His voice chased after me, snapping me out of my thoughts, but I couldn't care less. Yay, I'm free. I pretended not to hear him and happily walked towards my parents' house, where I had decided to move back in. 1 year later. The divorce was final, but Dan didn't stop contacting me. You're sorry, aren't you? I'll take you back if you apologize. A wife should. I ignored the constant messages, which were something I never had to deal with when we were married. Eventually, after he kept pushing, I agreed to meet him face to face at his parents' house. Why have you been ignoring me? Dan, who was trying to act calm in front of his parents, spoke reasonably. I've been texting you all this time, but you never replied. Oh, yeah, I turned off notifications from you. Why? It was too annoying. I am annoying? Yes, you are. His face started turning red as his anger built up. So, what do you want to talk to me about? He started raising his voice, but then remembered where we were and quickly muttered an apology, something that had never happened in our marriage. Wow, I thought, he actually knows how to apologize. What do you need to talk to your ex-wife about? I asked, curious. Hold on, why are you acting so strange? Aren't you struggling after the divorce? How are you managing? He sounded almost concerned, but I couldn't forget how he never even checked on me before, even though he knew where I lived. I didn't mind getting back together if that's what you want. Doesn't that make you happy? Not at all. I almost laughed at his confidence. It doesn't make me happy, and it wouldn't help me. I make enough money to support myself. Besides, the living expenses you gave me were only $500 a month. It didn't even cover what we needed. You're the one struggling now, without me, right? The money I was covering for you is gone, and I'm much more comfortable being alone now. I don't understand why we'd get back together after I've finally been free, I said, pretending to be confused. Dan got visibly frustrated. What? You were supposed to be a housewife. I mean, let's not talk about finances, he mumbled, clearly uncomfortable with his parents being there. Dan, stop acting like a child caught in trouble. Calm down. Don't try to look good now. They know everything about you. What secrets? He asked. I motioned for him to be quiet and revealed the truth. You're wrong about me. I wasn't just a housewife. I told you I lived abroad because of my dad's job. I used the German I learned there to work as a translator. Do you remember those materials on the bookshelves? I didn't care about them, he muttered. Exactly. Those were materials and manuscripts for translation. You never touched them because you didn't care. Thanks to that, I hid some recording equipment. Wait. Dan froze when I mentioned the word recording. It was his father who presented the evidence, a recording device and files, right in front of him. See, all your secrets, like how you treated her, are out now, his father said. His parents started crying as they watched the recordings and apologized to me. They were ashamed of how their son treated me. Well. Dan stammered, clearly nervous under the pressure. His mother grabbed him and forced him to sit down again. She glanced at me, signaling for me to continue, and I nodded. These are copies of our divorce papers, I said, pointing to parts marked with red circles. You know what these are, right? No way. He whispered, shocked. I showed him the witness signatures on the papers, people he knew very well. Actually, there wasn't enough space for all the witnesses. You had more than 2 girlfriends, didn't you? Wait a second. No more waiting, I interrupted. Before I could continue, a voice full of resentment filled the room. You never told us about the STD. We only had a relationship with you. That means you brought it in from somewhere else, didn't you? I mean, what am I, a fling? Didn't you say we'd get married one day? That's something only a bachelor should say. Oh no, one of his girlfriends added, her voice full of contempt. We watched the video too. You're a villain, not just to us, but to all women. You're public enemy number 1. You're finished. Surrounded by his angry girlfriends, Dan collapsed to the floor. His parents sighed deeply, ashamed of their son. I had hired a private investigator to look into his girlfriends and had secretly contacted them. I also informed my ex-in-laws about everything. The result was this chaos. Your game is up now, Dan. His parents strongly insisted that he face the consequences. All of his girlfriends and I demanded compensation from him. Dan worked for a company owned by a relative of his mother, so the payments were taken directly from his paycheck. To make sure he couldn't escape, he was kept under strict supervision at his parents' house while facing years of compensation payments. 6 years had passed since everything had changed. "Hey, Judy, what's wrong?" It was a cold day, with Christmas songs playing everywhere in the city. I stopped in front of a tree ornament that caught my eye. My husband, his breath visible in the chilly air, turned to look at me from a few steps ahead. He smiled softly, his ears red from the cold. The little girl in his arms had rosy cheeks too. I couldn't help but adore them both. Grandma's prediction was actually amazing, I murmured to myself. My current husband, surprisingly, was the brother of one of Dan's ex-girlfriends. After everything, I had stayed in touch with the girlfriends, and it was through them that I met him. He had gently helped me heal from the depression I'd suffered after my painful marriage to Dan. It felt like a strange, almost fateful twist of events. If it hadn't been for everything with Dan, I never would have met my husband. So that's what Grandma meant when she said, "You'll struggle, but you'll be happy." I reflected again, amazed at how true her words had turned out to be. And, against all odds, I had gotten pregnant after we married, something I had been told was highly unlikely. I still remember the Christmas day when I was rushed to the emergency room and the doctor announced that I was pregnant. We were overjoyed, jumping up and down like kids, and the nurse scolded us to calm down. It felt like a true Christmas miracle. This time of year always brought those memories rushing back. I had been hurt deeply by Dan, but now, I was so happy. "Mommy." I was brought back from my thoughts as my daughter left my husband's arms and ran to me in her fuzzy coat. "Nothing, let's go home and have dinner. It's hot stew for an especially cold day, I've already prepared it." "Sounds great." "Yay." Laughing, we held hands and walked down the street together. And from somewhere, a familiar Christmas song played in the background.
My dad suddenly got very sick and had to go to the hospital. I can't go on our honeymoon because I need to be with him. So my husband says I should go alone. I was really excited about our honeymoon, but now it's not happening. My husband thinks I should still go by myself. But who goes on a honeymoon alone? Then something unexpected happened. My father-in-law, who was supposed to be in the hospital, appeared in front of me. "Why are you here, father-in-law?" "My name is Sarah. I've been with Mark for 5 years, and he finally asked me to marry him this summer." Looking back, those 5 years felt like a long time. We started visiting Mark's parents' house about a year into our relationship, and he met my parents who live far away too. But he always said, "Let's wait until work is more settled," without making a definite plan to get married. Lately he even joked, "Why change anything?" This made me worried. "Mark, I'm turning 30 soon. If you're not going to be honest with me, we might need to end things." After I said that, Mark finally asked me to marry him. We were close to each other's families and had already talked about everything, from our wedding plans to our honeymoon destination. All that was left was to make those plans happen. We decided to have a small wedding with just our closest friends and family. The only thing left was our honeymoon. Mark planned to spend the day at his parents' house to spend time with them. I had dinner with my parents, who came from out of town, and then went home alone. I packed our bags for the honeymoon and sent Mark a text before bed. "Mark, you did great today. I'm all set for our honeymoon tomorrow. I'm really excited about going to Italy." But I didn't hear back from Mark. I figured he must have been really tired from the wedding and fell asleep. I hoped he wouldn't oversleep for our flight the next day. Feeling a bit worried, I eventually fell asleep. The next morning, I got a call from Mark. "Sarah, something really bad happened," Mark said quickly as soon as I answered the phone. "My dad collapsed and he's in the hospital. You'll have to go on our honeymoon alone today." "What? What do you mean?" I was shocked. "But your dad seemed fine at our wedding yesterday, didn't he?" "I'm just as surprised as you, Sarah. I need to stay with him, but you should still go on the honeymoon without me." "That's crazy. If your dad's sick, I can't just leave for our honeymoon. Who goes on a honeymoon alone anyway?" I asked which hospital his dad was in, but Mark wouldn't tell me. "If I told you, you want to come visit, right?" "Of course I would. Dad knows how much you've been looking forward to going to Italy. He insisted I should still let you go. Please respect his wishes. I won't be able to enjoy myself with everything that's happening. Will you come join me once he's feeling better?" Definitely, I'll be there as soon as things calm down here. Don't say as soon as things are settled, it might jinx it. Please, let me handle things here and go to Italy as planned. I'm almost at the hospital, so I won't be able to answer your calls. Talk to you later. Well, wait, Mark. I tried to say, but he hung up before I could get a word in. I called back right away, but his phone was off. I didn't even know which hospital he was heading to, so I couldn't rush to be with my father-in-law. Feeling helpless, the doorbell rang, startling me. When I opened the door, I was shocked. Father-in-law? There he was, standing at the door, supposed to be in the hospital after collapsing. Are you okay? Your legs? They're working. I stammered, feeling like I was seeing a ghost. What do you mean? My father-in-law looked confused as I checked if he was really there. Are you feeling all right? Oh, I had a bit too much to drink at the wedding yesterday, but I'm fine now. Sober as a judge this morning, and I drove here just fine after dropping Mark off. After dropping Mark off? Yeah, you're going on your honeymoon, right? I dropped him off at the station, but then I realized I should have come to pick you up too. Let me take you to LaGuardia. I was really confused. My father-in-law, who was supposed to be in the hospital, dropped Mark off at the station. None of this made any sense. Then it hit me. My father-in-law mentioned LaGuardia, but we're supposed to fly from JFK to Italy, not LaGuardia Airport. You said you'd take me to LaGuardia, but our honeymoon is in Italy. Oh yes, that's what I thought too. I was surprised when Mark told me this morning that we changed our plans last minute and decided to go to Alaska instead. Alaska. The more I heard, the more confused I became. Mark said we're going to Alaska. Yeah, he did. He left a note in the car. My father-in-law showed me a post-it that Mark had left in the car. It had the name of an inn in Alaska and a flight from LaGuardia to Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport written on it. When I saw it, everything started to make sense. Can you take me to LaGuardia then? Of course. Traffic shouldn't be too bad. We'll probably get there around the same time as Mark's train. Thank you so much. On the way, I couldn't stop thinking about Mark's behavior. Whether my guess was right or not, I find out when I saw him at the airport. I thanked my father-in-law and went into the airport. Near the check-in counter for the Alaska flight, I saw Mark right away. He was with another woman, cozying up together and picking out drinks. My suspicions were confirmed. He had been cheating on me. Maybe it started while we were living together. His reluctance to get married might have been because of her. And now, not only was he having an affair, but he was also going on a trip with her on the day of our honeymoon. I stood boldly in front of him. Mark, holding drinks and about to leave the store, saw me and looked shocked. Sarah, what are you doing here? Same question to you. Why are you, who should have been at the hospital with your dad, here? I just came to buy some stuff. Stuff? Did you really come all the way to LaGuardia just to buy drinks? Yeah, Dad wanted some specific airport water. That's funny you say that because I was just with your father. Huh? Your dad came to pick me up in his car. He seemed perfectly fine, which was a big surprise. Oh right, after we talked, he suddenly felt better. He's always been resilient. Mark was sticking to his story. Amidst my shock, I couldn't help but think, what excuse will he come up with next? So who's this woman? Where were you two planning to go? Well, oh right, she's the nurse who looked after Dad. We're going to check out a rehab center for him in Alaska. Your excuses are painful to hear. I was speechless and sighed in disbelief. Enough. Your lies are giving me a headache. It's not a lie, she's really my dad's. Mark's words were interrupted by a voice from behind. My what? I turned around and saw my father-in-law standing there. I thought you went home, I said. I had a feeling something wasn't right, Sarah, so I parked the car and followed you. Looks like I was right. Seeing his dad there, Mark knew his lies weren't going to work. He looked nervous. My father-in-law asked sternly, "Who is this woman?" Well. Before Mark could say anything, the woman spoke up. I'm Amy, Mark's girlfriend. Mark quickly covered her mouth. What are you saying? You need to be honest, Mark. You don't love your wife. Just divorce her already, she said boldly. What? No, just be quiet, Mark exclaimed. Why should I listen to you? You promised to leave your wife for me. That's why you chose me over her today, right? Amy accused. That's because you threatened me, you said. If you don't come to Alaska with me today, I'll tell everyone about us. Mark defended himself. I see, so you were having an affair with her? I said coldly. Amy glared at me and snapped back, it's not an affair. Mark and I are serious about each other. He never wanted to marry you. At that point, I didn't even want to argue anymore. Fine, do whatever you want. Leaving Mark and Amy behind, my father-in-law and I left the airport. It was 5 days later when Mark came back home. The doorbell rang and I talked to him through the intercom. Sarah, can you open the door? I can't unlock it. Oh, I changed the locks. You changed them? Why would you do that without telling me? I don't want someone I don't know having a spare key to our home. Someone I don't know? Are you talking about me? Who else would I be talking about? I got the divorce papers ready, so just sign them. Wait, let me in first. We can talk about this. I kept the door chain on and passed the divorce papers through the crack. There's nothing to talk about. Once you sign these papers, can you leave right away? Don't be so angry. I've decided to end things with Amy. Huh? What do you mean? She's awful. I only agreed to go to Alaska because she threatened to tell everyone about us. But the trip was terrible. She complained the whole time about the inn and the weather. I told her I won't divorce you. Please break up with me. I don't care if you break up with that girl or not. The only option for me is a divorce, even if you don't agree. Don't say that. Are you mad because we didn't go to Italy? It's too late now, but do you want to go? Are you serious? How can you even suggest that? I was wrong to think I could reason with you. A man who cancels our honeymoon to go on a trip with his mistress isn't reasonable. Sign the divorce papers now and also sign this. I handed him another document through the crack. What's this? He asked. It's a payment agreement for alimony and the cancellation fee for our honeymoon. I had a lawyer prepare it while you were away. I'm saying I don't want a divorce. You're the one who wants it, so why do I have to pay alimony? I want to try again. You can't ignore the consequences of cheating. Infidelity means alimony, and the decision to start over isn't yours, considering you cheated. What about this cancellation fee? We don't get a refund for canceling our trip last minute. Since you caused it, you should pay. I told you to go alone. Not going was your choice. How could I go alone on our honeymoon? And you lied about your dad being sick to cover up your affair. I couldn't go in that situation. I wanted to go to Italy with you, but Amy threatened me. You wouldn't want me to lose my job, would you? Amy threatened to expose you at work. Yeah, exactly. If she says she'll do something, she'll do it. It's all Amy's fault. Amy did give off a vibe of unpredictability. I mean, she even boldly declared herself as Mark's girlfriend directly to his wife. She must be quite bold. But strangely, I felt relieved. With someone like Amy in the picture, Mark's actions would eventually catch up with him, even without my interference. All I needed now was to get him to sign those divorce papers. Pretending to be concerned, I asked, Hey, are you sure it's safe for you to be here? What do you mean? You ended things with Amy, right? Isn't she angry? Of course she's angry, but I'm done with her. Well, maybe you're fine, but what about Amy? Knowing her, she might show up at your office and cause trouble. True, that would be a disaster. I need to go to the office and handle this. Sarah, could you pass me my company key card? This one. I pulled out Mark's company key card and showed it to him. Yeah, that's it. I quickly moved away from the door as Mark reached for the card through the gap. I'll give you the key card if you sign the divorce papers and the payment agreement first. But, have you made up your mind? You better decide quickly. Amy might get to your office before you. All right, Mark reluctantly signed the documents and passed them through the door gap. There, is that enough? Now give me the key card. I handed him the key card, and Mark hurried off to the office. I went to the courthouse to submit the divorce papers and gave the signed payment agreement to my lawyer. It was a relief to have the financial matters settled. The next day, Mark called me in a panic. Hello? Sarah. What do you want? We're legally strangers now. There's nothing to talk about. Wait, please don't hang up. Mark pleaded desperately. Curious about what happened, I decided to hear him out. So what is it? I was called into a meeting by the board when I got to the office today. Everyone knows about my affair, even though I tried to get ahead of Amy. Isn't that strange? Oh, I told them. You told the board? Yeah, I felt bad because they came to our wedding. but we divorced so quickly. Since you were busy with Amy, I thought I should explain why we split up. Just the board? You told everyone at my office. Yeah, when I told them my husband chose a vacation with someone else over our honeymoon, they were shocked. But how can I face everyone at work now? You don't have to hide anymore. Isn't that a good thing? Don't play games with me, you've ruined everything. I should be saying that to you. I wish I could get back the 5 years I wasted on someone like you. When I spoke up, he fell silent. Why don't you just be with Amy? If she cares about you so much, wouldn't she support you even if you quit your job? No, being with her only brings trouble. The only one who can support me is you, Sarah. Well, being with you only brings me trouble. If you want support, maybe you should think about how your actions affect others. Yeah, I regret it. So can we try again? No chance. Maybe it's time for you to reflect, start fresh, and try dating again. Oh, and maybe find a job first. Sarah, please don't leave me. You're the one who betrayed me first. You'll have to live with your regret. I ended the call abruptly. After that, Mark went back to his parents' house a few times to borrow money. But my father-in-law, who was falsely made out to be seriously ill and used as an excuse for Mark's affair, was furious. Eventually, he cut ties with Mark. Mark started feeling uncomfortable at work and ended up quitting. Job hunting didn't go well, and now he's barely making ends meet by working part-time at a convenience store. On the other hand, I moved into a new home with the alimony from Mark. Even though I changed the locks, it still felt strange living in a place my ex-husband knew about. Mark's parents helped me move. Maybe they saw it as a way to make up for their son's mistakes. I still keep in touch with them and have meals together occasionally. I may not get back the 5 years I spent with Mark, but I'm determined to find someone better next time. Hello friends, my name is Mia, and I'm here to share the story of how my mother-in-law's actions backfired on her. Rita, my mother-in-law, might blame me, but she brought it on herself by trying to break up my marriage to her son, Nigel. If she hadn't tried to interfere, she wouldn't have ended up divorced. Here's what happened and how I finally removed Rita's toxic presence from my life. Rita absolutely hated me. Why? No reason. She hated every woman her son Nigel dated. She had an unhealthy attachment to Nigel and believed that any woman he dated was trying to steal him away from her. Her husband, my father-in-law Luke, wasn't like her at all. He is a kind man who still treats me like his own daughter, which is why I was so angry when I found out about Rita's betrayal. Here's what Rita tried to do. When Nigel and I announced our engagement, she accused me of cheating with my best friend. It was a ridiculous claim with no evidence, just based on her suspicions. My best friend, who is a guy, and I have been close since childhood. We have a great relationship but respect the boundaries set by our spouses. We even go on double dates and trips together. Nigel always trusted me and knew I was faithful, but Rita didn't see it that way. A man and a woman can't be that close without something going on. I bet she's cheating on you, Rita said to Nigel. Mom, you're being ridiculous. Mia and her best friend are just friends. She's not cheating. They hardly ever meet alone. I trust my fiancé completely, Nigel replied. You're naive, Nigel. Mia is only with you because you have a good income. She might even try to trap you with a baby, Rita insisted. I don't know what you're talking about, Rita. None of that will happen. I love your son, and my best friend is just my best friend. Nothing is going on between us. You're being insulting when you say those things, I added. I know you're lying, Mia. Don't pretend to be innocent with me. I know your type very well, Rita retorted. Of course, Rita knew about girls like that. She was one of them. But that would come to light later. Nigel didn't believe her ridiculous lies, and we got married anyway. She tried to tell everyone that he was marrying a cheater. Some family members were confused, but once Nigel explained the truth, they were angry at Rita and apologized to me. Nigel and his father confronted Rita and yelled at her. Although she wasn't sorry, she promised to behave from then on. I really thought Rita would change and stop her nonsense, but she didn't. Her next move was even worse. The beginning of Rita's downfall started when I got pregnant with our first child. It was a boy, and everyone was happy for us. Nigel was thrilled to become a father, and Luke was excited to be a grandfather. The only one who wasn't happy was Rita. She revived her Mia is cheating claims and even said the baby wasn't Nigel's. We were all furious, and Nigel tried to keep me out of the drama to avoid stressing me out. Now here comes the fun part. As soon as my son was born, Rita saw him and said, "This child can't be my son's. He looks nothing like Nigel did as a baby. This can't be your son, Nigel." "Mom, what is wrong with you? This is my son. Not all babies look exactly like their parents did as babies. I didn't look like Dad as a baby either." "You are being ridiculous," Nigel responded. "Nigel, open your eyes. This child is too light-skinned to be yours. We're all too tan to have a baby with this skin color," Rita insisted. "What on earth are you talking about, Rita? You're being absurd. The baby's skin is lighter because I'm fair-skinned, and babies' skin colors can change as they grow. Use some common sense before you accuse me," I argued. We had a huge fight with Rita about this. In the end, Nigel kicked her out of the hospital and was really angry with her. But Rita didn't waste any time. She immediately started spreading rumors that the baby wasn't Nigel's. Some people started to doubt us, especially since we didn't want the baby around everyone before he was a month old. Rita's gossip and pressure from others were getting to us. Finally, I gave in and agreed to a DNA test. Nigel didn't want me to. "Mia, you don't have to do this. I trust you completely. I know our son is mine. Rita can go jump in a lake," Nigel said. "Nigel, please. I'm tired of Rita insulting me and everyone assuming things. This drama has gone on for too long. I have nothing to hide, so let's just get it over with," I said. "Mia, Nigel, I think there's something you need to know," Luke interrupted. "What is it, Dad?" Nigel asked. "I don't know how to say this, but Nigel, you might not be my biological son," Luke said, his tone serious. We were all at home when Luke dropped this bombshell. He had been acting strangely for a while. So we were on edge, but we never expected him to say something like this. Nigel was especially shocked. "Dad, what are you saying?" "Listen, I saw a doctor recently, and some things he said made me question whether I'm your biological father." "Are you serious?" "Oh my God, are you sure?" "It's possible. There's a good chance, Nigel, and I think it's time we found out for sure." "Mia, don't tell Rita about this. Let's get me and Nigel tested. I want to confront her when we have the results. She's planning a family dinner for when the DNA reports for Nigel and my grandson come in." Honestly, I was speechless. I agreed to the plan because it seemed like the best option at the time. Nigel and Luke were too overwhelmed to handle it, so I took charge. The DNA test was done, and true to her word, Rita arranged a family dinner to reveal the results to everyone. She was clearly eager to embarrass me. But in her rush, Rita grabbed the wrong envelope. Nigel, Luke, and I noticed, but we stayed quiet. You can imagine our shock when Rita excitedly announced, "I was right. They're not a match. My son isn't the father of Mia's son. Mia is a cheater." Rita was ecstatic when the results showed no connection between the people tested. She saw it as a chance to kick me out of Nigel's life. She danced around, shouting to everyone that Nigel wasn't the father of my child. But I didn't react. Meanwhile, Luke and Nigel were pale and trembling with anger. Rita thought they were angry at me and said, "See, I told you all Mia's a cheater. Nigel isn't the father of her child. That's not my grandson. Mia's trying to pass off some stranger's kid as Nigel's. Oh, my poor boy. I tried to warn you, but no one listened." "Rita, you should have checked the DNA results in private before announcing them to everyone," I suggested. "Why would I do that, Mia? Everyone needs to know what a cheater you are. I'm not going to cover for you. You deserve to be kicked out of our lives for this," Rita snapped. Nigel couldn't take it anymore. I could see how furious and betrayed he felt. I didn't try to stop him from speaking out. "Stop it, Mom. Just stop. Mia isn't going anywhere. She's my wife, and I love and trust her. She's the mother of my child." "Nigel, what are you saying? These results clearly show the child isn't yours. Mia cheated on you and is trying to trap you with a baby. Here, look for yourself," Rita urged, handing Nigel the papers. "No, I don't need to look. You need to double-check these results and think before you accuse. You shouldn't have pushed for the DNA test. Look at the mess you've caused," Nigel replied. "Nigel, I know this is hard to accept, but it's the truth. Mia cheated on you. She's making you raise someone else's child, Rita persisted. At this moment, Luke found his voice and thundered, breaking his shocked silence. He was furious and ready to confront Rita. So, Mia's making Nigel raise someone else's child, just like you tried to pass off Nigel as my son years ago, Luke accused. Luke, what are you talking about? Nigel is your son, Rita exclaimed. I'm not like Mia, who sleeps around with everyone. Why are you attacking me because of her? Rita defended herself. Why don't you double-check the report, Rita? It'll help you understand what's going on. These are the DNA tests between Nigel and our son. Look, it clearly says they're father and son, I explained. What? Then why does this document say they're not related? What's happening? Rita exclaimed. If you read it carefully, you'd see it's for Nigel and Luke, and it says they're not related at all. Nigel isn't Luke's son, I revealed. Rita looked at me in disbelief. Her secret of 25 years was out, and she couldn't stop it from spreading. She called family members to expose my supposed secret, but it backfired when her own secret came out instead. Luke and Nigel were furious, and Rita knew she was in trouble. She kept reading the report, hoping it was wrong. No, this can't be true. Nigel is Luke's son. We were trying for a child when I got pregnant with him. Nigel is your son, Luke, Rita insisted. Oh really, Rita? So you're saying the reports are wrong and you didn't cheat on me? Luke challenged. Nigel is your son, Luke. Mia's trying to trick you with this paternity test to get back at me, Rita insisted. This wasn't just Mia's plan, Rita. It was mine too. Remember how I went to the doctor recently for tests? Well, it turns out I've been infertile my whole life. I never knew because I never went to the doctor before. Nigel can't be my son, Luke revealed. No, this can't be happening, Rita cried. This can't be true. I even have a feeling I know who Nigel's real father is. It's Fred, isn't it? Your ex before me, Luke accused. Rita turned pale when she heard Luke's accusation. Her reaction confirmed our suspicions. Nigel remained silent, clearly hurt and angry. I could see the pain and fear in his eyes. The room was filled with a sense of betrayal, and everyone looked at Rita with disbelief and anger. Even her own mother looked ready to faint. No one knew about Rita's affair or Nigel not being Luke's son. It was a disaster for her, and she started crying when Luke spoke. You don't need to say anything, Rita. Your reaction says it all. You cheated with Fred, didn't you? Luke said calmly. It doesn't matter now. My love for you is gone. I've suspected this for a while, and now that it's out in the open, I want a divorce. Luke, what are you saying? That was in the past. I ended things with Fred as soon as I found out I was pregnant with Nigel. He doesn't even know about Nigel. You're Nigel's father, through and through, Rita pleaded. That's right, Rita. I've been Nigel's father for 25 years. I don't care what the DNA test says. Nigel is my son, and he always will be. He may not be my biological child, but he's my blessing. I'll be his father for as long as I live, Luke declared firmly. Luke's words were exactly what Nigel needed to hear. He had been terrified of losing the only father he'd ever known. When Luke reassured him, Nigel broke down in tears. I held him close, trying to comfort him while Luke and the others confronted Rita. Rita tried to salvage the situation. You're right, Luke. You raised Nigel for 25 years. He's yours. Let's just forget about the DNA test and move on. We can? No, Rita. Just no, Luke interrupted. Things will never be the same. Every time I look at you, I'll be reminded of your betrayal. Nigel may be my son, but you're no wife of mine. A woman who cheats on her husband can't be my wife. I'm divorcing you. That's final. No, Luke, you can't do this. We've been married for 30 years. You can't leave me over this, Rita pleaded, shocked and desperate. But nobody was sympathetic. Even her own family was siding with Luke's decision and hurling insults at her. Rita continued crying, begging for forgiveness. Then she turned to Nigel, hoping he could sway Luke. Nigel, look at what your father is saying. He's going to leave me. Please, don't let him. Please, make him understand, Rita implored. Don't you dare call me son. I don't want to call you mother anymore. You've been deceitful, dragging Mia through the mud when you were the one hiding the truth. I can't even look at you, Nigel snapped. No, Nigel, I am your mother. I gave birth to you. I'm sorry, son. I'm so sorry for everything. Please don't hate me. I made a mistake. Mia, Please. You're a woman. You understand. Please help me make them understand, Rita pleaded desperately. I never expected this to happen. Rita was so desperate that she started begging me for help. It was pathetic and disgusting. She thought I would overlook her sins just because I'm a woman. How could she think I'd be on her side? I wanted her to suffer for what she'd done. Oh hell no, Rita. You brought this on yourself. You were the one pushing Nigel to divorce me, claiming my son isn't his. Now that it's true for you, did you really expect me to support you? You targeted me and my innocent son for nothing. You betrayed my husband and my father-in-law for 3 decades. You don't deserve anyone's forgiveness. I agree with Luke. He needs to divorce you. It was a mistake, Mia. You're an honest woman and I know you care about your family. Your new family is about to be torn apart, Mia. Please don't let it happen. My family consists of me, my son, Nigel, and Luke. You're not part of that family, Rita. A woman who treated me and her own family so badly can't be considered family to me. I don't want you anywhere near me or my son again. The rest is up to Nigel to decide, I stated firmly. I don't want you near me either, Rita. Stay away from me and my family. Dad is doing the right thing by divorcing you. You brought this upon yourself. You wanted to prove a son doesn't belong to his father, to break up a marriage. Well, congratulations, Rita. It's happening to your own family now, Nigel added, his voice icy and controlled. Rita looked stunned, as if she'd been drenched in ice water. Nigel's calm demeanor surprised everyone. He didn't need to raise his voice to convey his message. It was clear he meant every word. Rita sank to the floor, avoiding eye contact. Family members berated her, but I felt no sympathy. Luke informed her she needed to leave his house soon. It was his property inherited before their marriage. Living in an at-fault state, Luke could sue Rita for paternity fraud, possibly avoiding alimony payments. Rita was in serious trouble now. As days passed, Luke stayed true to his word. He wasted no time in consulting a divorce lawyer the next day and initiated the eviction process against Rita. She threw a dramatic tantrum, full of tears, begging, and shouting, but Luke remained firm in his decision to remove her from his life. Rita bombarded Nigel and me with texts and calls, pleading and making excuses for her actions. We read a few messages before blocking her altogether. Then Rita showed up at our doorstep, tearful and desperate. Luke's kicking me out, guys. I have nowhere to go. I only have a little money left for a divorce lawyer. I need a place to stay. You can go wherever you like, Rita. We won't be providing you with shelter. We've made it clear we want nothing to do with you, I responded firmly. I'm your mom, Nigel. Why are you calling me by my name? I am your mother, Rita pleaded. I was seething with anger. While I was glad Rita was facing consequences, the paternity ordeal had taken a toll on both Nigel and Luke. Luke coped in his own way, but Nigel was struggling. It was heartbreaking to see him in such pain while also caring for our newborn. Rita acting like it was no big deal infuriated me. I'm sorry, Rita, but you've lost that privilege. You're nothing more than a stranger to us now. And Nigel's right. We won't be providing you with shelter, I declared firmly. Mia, please, don't do this. My grandson needs his grandma, Rita pleaded. Don't you dare call my son your grandson. Your own son refuses to call you mom, and you can't suddenly be a grandma to a child you never wanted in your life. Don't try to guilt us using my innocent child. It won't work. We've had enough of you, Rita. It's time for you to leave. Don't bother coming back, because I'll call the police. Trust me, you don't want more legal trouble after this. It sounds like Rita faced the consequences of her actions head-on. After some more tears and pleading, Nigel firmly shut the door in her face. It was satisfying to see her facing the consequences of her actions, considering the havoc she wreaked on so many lives. Eventually, she left when she realized we wouldn't budge. Rita mostly stayed away until it was time for her to leave Luke's house. She tried to beg and guilt-trip us into letting her in again, but we stood our ground. When we threatened to call the police, she finally left. I heard she found a place to stay with a friend who got her a job in an office as a warehouse worker. The divorce proceedings were messy, with Rita trying to tilt things in her favor, but her excuses fell flat in our at-fault state. They divorced in 6 months and went their separate ways. Rita continued to harass Luke to get her old life back, but he remained firm. Now she's miserable, working in a warehouse and barely scraping by. She's been cut off from the entire family and excluded from parties and gatherings. Meanwhile, Nigel and Luke are doing much better after starting therapy. It's heartening to see their strong bond endure despite the paternity revelation. We still have our weekly family dinners, and Luke often visits to spend time with his grandson. Overall, we've managed to return to our normal lives while Rita is left to wallow in loneliness and misery.
A factory worker father hurriedly excused himself upon her announcement. As soon as she uttered those words, my stepmother, with a wicked grin, impulsively splashed tea onto my dad's face. Beside her, she burst into laughter. Surprisingly, my stepfather made no effort to reprimand her. The stain on the suit my dad had meticulously cleaned for this occasion rapidly expanded. Fortunately, the tea was lukewarm, nearly cold, alleviating concerns about burns. Amidst my astonishment, I handed a napkin to my dad while Tom, in a panic, tried to dry his father-in-law's suit. Even in the midst of worrying about potential injuries, Tom couldn't help but laugh at the absurd behavior of his parents. Throughout this chaos, my dad remained silent, stood upright, and pointed at them, declaring, "Well then, I'll just ruin your company." The unfamiliar sternness in his voice caught me off guard. He took my hand, and we left the chaotic scene behind. Tom scolded his parents before quickly joining us. "I'm really sorry, father-in-law. I'll make my parents apologize later." He apologized, but my dad, with a grave tone, reassured him, "No need. We're done with them anyway." He patted Tom's shoulder as we walked away from the tumultuous O'Connor household. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Yvonne Warner, a 26-year-old office worker. Raised by my single father after losing my mother at a young age, I admired his dedication to both work and family. My father, in charge of a factory, managed to attend all my school events, even if he had to rush back to work afterward. In college, I met Tom, 2 years my senior, who was gentle, sincere, and polite. Despite his popularity, he accepted my confession, but there were concerns about his relationship with his parents, which he didn't elaborate on. We continued to date, and although Tom lived alone, he occasionally visited his parents, always looking exhausted afterward. Tom prioritized me in our relationship, and I was proud of him. I wanted to introduce him to my dad, and when the day finally came, it was a mix of fear and excitement. Surprisingly, my dad and Tom got along well, and I felt relieved to see the two important men in my life getting along. Yet Tom's odd excitement after the meeting left me puzzled, and he evaded any further questions about it. As Tom and I had seemingly hit it off with my dad, I couldn't shake off a growing worry that perhaps Tom's feelings were not as positive as he claimed. This anxiety lingered, leading Tom to request an important conversation a few days later. Nervously anticipating the discussion about our recent encounter with my dad, I met Tom at the agreed-upon cafe. Upon reaching the cafe, I noticed Tom already seated, his face wearing a gloomy expression visible through the glass. Suppressing my own anxiety, I approached him with a cheerful greeting. "Tom, sorry, did you wait long?" I softly spoke as I reached him. Startled by my touch on his shoulder, Tom exclaimed, "Well, Yvonne, you scared me." After a deep breath, he continued, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Please, have a seat." Sitting across from Tom, I ordered from the waiter, my concern mounting as Tom's downcast expression persisted. Hoping to encourage him to share his thoughts, I spoke up, "Hey, Tom, what's bothering you so much? Is there something wrong with my dad?" Tom, taken aback by the direct question, denied any issue with my dad, stating, "Absolutely not. I respect your dad. It's just that my. He trailed off, avoiding eye contact. Sensing the need to delve deeper, I sighed and pressed him. "If you're worried about something, I want to know what's on your mind." Tom took a deep breath, as if preparing himself, and began to disclose a shocking revelation. According to him, His parents were judgmental and lacked class, constantly interfering in his life. When he introduced a girlfriend, his parents would criticize her on the spot, leading to tearful breakups. Tom desired to marry me but was troubled by the prospect of involving his parents in our marriage. Assuring him that we didn't have to include them in our union, I suggested enduring their presence during the wedding formalities. Reminding him that my dad liked him, I thought the matter was settled, but Tom had more to share. He revealed that when he met my dad, he was surprised by the stark contrast to his own parents. Expressing a desire to become the son of such a great man, Tom shared his dilemma about marriage. While he was pleased that my dad liked him, he couldn't decide whether his parents should also become his in-laws. Tom brightened momentarily but sighed deeply afterward. In a moment of realization, Tom looked up and apologized. He proposed a unique solution. When we meet his parents for our marriage, could my dad come along? Tom hoped that the presence of someone so respectable might eventually influence his parents positively. I agreed to discuss it with my dad, but I couldn't help expressing my wish that Tom had approached the conversation differently. Understanding his misstep, Tom quickly apologized and then, with newfound determination, formally proposed marriage to me. Swiftly deciding to discuss the matter with my father, who was initially hesitant, I approached him with Tom when he formally asked for my hand in marriage. After obtaining my father's agreement, Tom and I arranged a date to meet his parents. On the appointed day, dressed in our best attire, we stood at the front door of Tom's family home, preparing to meet his parents for the first time. Given the unsettling stories I had heard about Tom's parents, my nerves were understandably on edge. My father, attempting to lighten the mood, encouraged us not to be too tense, assuring that Tom's parents were just overly concerned. His supportive pat on the back eased my anxiety slightly. When Tom rang the doorbell, there was no response, causing a momentary panic. Tom rang again, but still, there was silence. Not wanting to create a bad impression, Tom excused himself and entered the house first, leaving my father and me exchanging concerned glances. After what seemed like an eternity, Tom reappeared, looking flustered. Before I could inquire about the delay, he made excuses with a forced smile, promising us they would be ready soon. My father sighed in exasperation, and I couldn't shake the growing worry that this incident might jeopardize our wedding plans. Finally, Tom ushered us inside, where his parents awaited us. However, their demeanor was peculiar. His mother greeted us with a sly grin, while his father seemed disinterested, looking away. Despite the tense atmosphere, I decided to proceed with the introductions. Tom, regaining composure, introduced both my parents and me. Despite the warmth of his thoughtful introduction, his parents sneered, and the atmosphere remained strained. In an awkward turn of events, Tom's mother splashed tea on my father, staining the suit he had meticulously cleaned for the occasion. Shocked, I offered my dad a handkerchief while Tom panickedly tried to wipe off the tea stains. His parents, laughing in response, only fueled Tom's anger. My father, standing up, pointed at them and declared, "Then I'll ruin your company," a tone and statement I had never heard from him before. Taking my hand, he left the house, leaving Tom's parents in the wake of Tom's scolding. Returning to our house with Tom, my father changed clothes, and Tom earnestly apologized for the incident. I could hear my dad's troubled voice during their conversation. Although I was shocked by Tom's parents' actions, I knew they wouldn't be easy to get along with. Seated on the living room sofa, clenching my fists, I replayed the event in my mind, seething at the insult directed at my dad. When my dad and Tom finished changing, Tom immediately apologized to me, almost bowing down, expressing regret for not anticipating such behavior from his parents. His sincerity was evident, and he didn't even ask for forgiveness. Feeling the need to apologize as well, I took Tom's hand as he kneeled on the floor, expressing my regret for suggesting the meeting without fully understanding the situation. Unexpectedly, the situation took a serious turn, and I felt compelled to apologize to my father for the unintended consequences of my thoughtless suggestion. His troubled expression and shrugged shoulders conveyed the difficulty in addressing the situation. Determined to understand the gravity of my dad's threat, I sought clarification. "Dad, was what you said true? Are you really going to ruin their company?" To my question, my dad glanced at Tom and nodded firmly, affirming his intent. My father, the CEO of a renowned local enterprise, revealed that their business was already struggling. As the factory manager and CEO, he had started as a worker in the very factory, sacrificing his dream of becoming a painter to raise me alone after my mother's passing. He worked tirelessly and climbed the corporate ladder through several promotions. Eventually, he took over as the CEO when the former CEO retired. During our recent visit to Tom's family home, we discovered that one of the subsidiaries managed by Tom's father, my father-in-law, belonged to my dad's company. Unfortunately, Tom's parents' prejudices and Tom's mother's premature actions prevented this from being clarified, leading to the present situation. My father explained that his company faced management difficulties, contemplating downsizing without resorting to layoffs. Regret was evident in his words as he considered the impact on his employees. After Tom's serious conversation with my father, he proposed closing down the subsidiary where Tom's parents worked. Concerned about the consequences for Tom's parents, my father questioned if Tom was okay with it. Tom, resolute and having cut ties with his parents, expressed a desire for them to reflect on their actions. Despite the difficulty, he requested permission to get engaged with me. Moved by Tom's earnestness, I also pleaded with my father to allow our engagement. My father, crossing his arms, pondered Tom's words. Despite the recent incident, he eventually gave his approval, setting a condition related to Tom's parents being company executives. My father demanded to know Tom's plan for the employees and made it clear that our marriage would be off if Tom couldn't handle this responsibly. A few days later, Tom presented a plan to my father for his father's company's employees. He had arranged a meeting with my father to discuss possible job placements for all the employees. Tom showed genuine concern for their transition and offered to work for free until they were settled and producing results. He expressed his eagerness to compensate for any shortcomings with his work and salary, and once settled, to re-engage with me. Tom, demonstrating his earnestness, saw himself as partly responsible for his company's collapse and wished to be a positive force in the situation. Upon returning home, I discovered that our marriage would be delayed due to an unavoidable circumstance. When I greeted my father, he expressed, "Welcome back, Ivan. You heard right. I'm sorry for deciding such an important thing on my own, but I thought it wouldn't be fair if I were the only one happy." While he apologized, I seized the opportunity to propose working in the company with Tom, offering to work for free. I insisted that my father should accept Tom's proposal. Despite Tom's attempts to dissuade me, I desperately begged my father, who initially remained silent. After repeated pleas, he uncrossed his arms and quietly nodded. Meanwhile, Tom's parents had yet to apologize. My father seemed to have been waiting for them, but the time had passed. He began preparations to take over Tom's father's company. Time passed, and the day arrived when the company collapsed. Tom's parents summoned us to their home, where a crowd of former employees protested the company's closure. They accused us of being the root of all evil and blamed me for seducing Tom and ingratiating myself with my father. Despite the accusations, Tom attempted to calm the former employees, explaining the situation and offering new job placements. Ignoring his parents' outbursts, Tom apologized for the inconvenience caused and promised to work with dedication. The former employees, reassured by Tom's efforts, began leaving, relieved and grateful. As they departed, my father promised to inform them of the details later. In the aftermath, Tom's parents continued to fuss about their predicament. Tom sighed in exasperation at their blame shifting, expressing concern about losing their house used as collateral. Despite their pleas, Tom's parents were met with indifference as the former employees had already heard the truth from Tom and disregarded the parents' desperate appeals. My father also ignored their words and the former employees left relieved, leaving Tom's parents to confront the consequences of their actions. "I don't care what you think. You got what you deserved, so it can't be helped. Why don't you learn a little remorse?" My father reprimanded Tom's parents, who seemed oblivious to our scolding. Unable to bear their persistence any longer, I finally lost my patience. "Haven't you just caused trouble for Tom all this time, boasting about being business owners and only caring about titles? Isn't that why this happened?" My words left his parents speechless, seemingly ready to retort, but halted by my father's decisive intervention. He made it clear that he wouldn't allow them to speak further. A business owner is supposed to take responsibility. You should at least complete your final task properly. Left without a response, Tom's parents were scolded collectively and could say nothing more. Leaving them behind, we left the scene. And eventually, Tom's parents lost everything: the company, the house, and the land. They never provided any guarantees to the former employees and evaded responsibility. After losing everything, they reached out to Tom for help. But having cut ties with them, Tom coldly turned them away. Now, they were probably in jail, and we heard nothing from them since. Even if they got out, they still had a debt to the former employees, so the situation remained dire. Afterward, Tom and I quit our jobs and joined my father's company. Living off our savings in the first month, we worked for free as promised. One day, we encountered a former employee of Tom's parents' company at work. Eager to shake our hands at the new workplace, the employee expressed their gratitude to my father for giving them a chance. Thanks to Tom for arranging the job, and also conveyed many thanks to me. Despite not remembering the specific incident, I had apparently helped that person carry materials. After expressing immense gratitude, the former employee left, expressing a desire to keep working hard. Feeling somewhat redeemed by his words, we hurried to my father's office, where he warmly welcomed us. Handing us several thick envelopes, he explained, "It's your salaries for the past months." It ended up being multiple envelopes because it couldn't all fit into one. We were stunned, unable to swallow the situation, but my father continued, "Your hard work revitalized the team. They constantly expressed their gratitude and concern for you. I couldn't possibly leave such excellent employees unpaid, and our performance has improved significantly. Thank you truly." Hearing this, we hugged each other and cried, moved by the concern shown for us. My father then added something even more wonderful. "Tom, I'm impressed with your leadership. If you're okay with my daughter, would you marry her?" Overjoyed, Tom replied tearfully, bowing to me and my father. I hugged Tom, crying alongside him, and so we got married. Continuing to work at my father's company, we lived happily every day, gradually becoming more adept at our jobs and contributing more effectively. Our time at the company was approaching a pause as I was about to take maternity leave. My father, Tom, our colleagues, and I were all looking forward to the arrival of our child.
I divorced my husband because he cheated on me 3 years ago with my younger sister. They sent me an invitation to their wedding. My mother said she would attend, and I felt betrayed by her too. Then she said, "I'll do something fun, you just wait and see." I had a plan to punish the two of them. My name is Emma. My husband and I worked in the same company, and I was his boss. He was a bit unreliable but sincere and friendly. I was responsible for training him and teaching him the job. At first, he was nervous about the new work, but over time, we grew close. "Yuma, are you free on our next day off?" he asked me. I was surprised when he asked me out on a date, but I was excited to see how confident he was outside of work. It made my heart skip a beat. After that, we often went out together. "Emma, will you be my girlfriend?" he asked. 6 months after we officially started dating, he could handle his work all by himself. He had become a valuable part of our company. I felt as happy as if it were my own success when other bosses praised him. He then got promoted and moved to a different department. That's when he proposed to me. "Emma, I want you to marry me." "Yes, I'd be happy to, I replied. My parents and younger sister Kate immediately liked Liam, and our wedding went smoothly. Kate, who was the same age as Liam, got along with him right away. You're so lucky to marry a kind man like Liam. It seems like people at work have high expectations for him, right? Kate said. She had just broken up with her boyfriend and was yearning for marriage, always telling me how jealous she was of me. After our wedding, I continued working and taking care of the household, supporting Liam both at work and in our personal lives. At least I thought I was supporting him. About a year after our marriage, he started coming home later and later, and we hardly ever had dinner together. Hey Liam, we haven't talked about work lately. Is everything okay? I asked. Nothing's wrong, he replied tersely. But you've been coming home late every day. If there's anything I can do to help. There isn't, he cut me off. He used to share everything with me, but recently he seemed annoyed whenever I brought up work. On his days off, he'd either sleep all day, claiming exhaustion, or head out to clear his mind. Feeling like we weren't spending enough quality time together, I made a suggestion to Liam. Hey Liam, how about we go to a spa together during the next holiday? My sister recommended a place to us, I suggested. A spa, huh? A spa is a place where we can relax and recharge our bodies and minds, especially from the stresses of work. Seeing Liam busy, I took the initiative to make a hotel reservation that included a spa. A week before our planned spa trip, I asked Liam, what time should we leave next week for the spa? Huh? Oh, is the spa trip next week? I forgot to mention I have a business trip scheduled for that weekend. What? But you've known of the spa trip for a while now. Well, it's work, so I can't really change it, can I? I see. Liam's department seemed busier than ever with frequent business trips. It seemed like I had no choice but to give up on the spa trip this time too. As usual, Liam left early in the morning for his business trip. If things had gone as planned, we would be on our way to the spa together by now, I thought sadly. While feeling down, I received a phone call. It was from the hotel where I had booked a reservation. Despite sending a cancellation email, they didn't receive it due to an error and called to confirm our arrival time. That's right, I thought. I might as well invite Kate. I called my parents' house. But Kate had been out since morning and wouldn't be back soon. So as a last resort, I decided to invite my mother to the spa. Compared to my sister, I had almost given up on the idea that my mother would be able to go on such short notice. But surprisingly, she agreed. Really? Is it okay to leave Dad alone? I asked. Right now, I'm more worried about you than your father, she replied gently. It seemed she had noticed I'd been feeling down lately and chose to join me on the trip. Thanks, Mom. I should be thanking you. I'm happy to be on a trip like this with you. I decided to make the most of the trip with my mother, which was a rare treat. However, as soon as we arrived at the hotel, my mother and I noticed something unusual. Mom, look at that. At the hotel, we spotted Liam, who was supposed to be away on his business trip. He was walking closely with another woman, both looking happy as they entered the same hotel where we were supposed to stay. As they walked in, the woman turned her face towards us for a brief moment. You've got to be kidding, I whispered in disbelief. The woman with Liam was my sister Kate. After that moment, shock took over and I have vague memories of how I made it back home. My mother made me some tea, which eventually helped me to start calming down. He had been lying to me, and not just Liam, Kate had deceived me too. After calming down, I called Liam's department. As I suspected, they hadn't been assigning business trips or much overtime for years. When I shared with my mother the days Liam came home late or was away on supposed business trips, it turned out Kate wasn't home on those days either, a detail that struck me. All those times he was late or away on trips, he was meeting Kate, wasn't he? I realized with a surge of anger rather than sadness. With the truth revealed, anger consumed me. Mom, I'm divorcing Liam. I don't want to see Kate, so I won't visit home for a while. She stayed silent but understood my decision. I made all the preparations just before Liam returned. I organized the divorce papers, arranged a new contract for my own house, packed my things, and moved into a temporary apartment before settling into the new place. At our home, I left a letter along with the divorce papers for Liam. I specified that all legal matters, including alimony, would be handled through my lawyer, and I blocked all forms of communication with him. To keep my new address private from Liam and Kate, I didn't inform my parents. Since we worked at the same company, we occasionally crossed paths, but I avoided any interaction with him completely. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Liam quickly agreed to the divorce. He didn't disclose the reason to anyone, but our colleagues seemed to gather it from my behavior and wisely avoided discussing the matter. 3 years went by with me keeping my distance from both Liam and my family. One evening after work, I found my mother waiting for me in my room. "Mom, what's going on?" I asked. "I have something to show you," she replied, holding out an invitation. "It's from Liam and Kate." To my surprise, Kate had left our family home and moved in with Liam. I had considered the possibility they might marry, but I never expected them to actually have a wedding and invite our parents. "So, Mom, are you planning to go?" I asked her. "Of course I am," she answered firmly. I understood that I was the only one who still couldn't forgive them. It seemed they knew this, which was why they had only invited our parents to the wedding. Having distanced myself from Liam and my parents, I felt I had no right to object. Seeing my sadness, my mother smiled reassuringly and said, "Don't worry. I'm not going because I forgive them. Just wait and see." On the day of the wedding, my mother video called me. "I don't want to see their faces," I said, almost hanging up. But I remembered my mother's earlier words and stayed on the call. The screen displayed a slideshow that was being presented. The MC began introducing the slides. This slideshow was created by the bride's mother. She gathered photos from her beloved daughter's birth to the present and created this presentation, the MC announced. I was taken aback that my mother, who wasn't very tech-savvy, had put together such a slideshow. It stirred up a mix of emotions inside me. "Mom, you went through all this effort for Kate." I wondered, feeling a wave of sadness. But then something caught my attention on the screen. "Wait, this isn't Kate," I realized. The slideshow began with a photo of myself as a newborn baby. "So cute, there's a resemblance to Kate somehow," the guests commented in a relaxed atmosphere as they watched the slideshow. Kate's expression grew tense. The MC continued, "Since she was young, the bride has always been dedicated to her family. She excelled as a student and successfully entered her desired university. Upon starting her career, she became a highly reliable employee at the company." Kate's friends and colleagues, who recognized moments from her student days and workplace, began to chatter excitedly. "Hey, isn't that a photo from the welcome party at University J? Kate didn't attend such a prestigious university, did she? Wait, isn't that a photo from the company's welcome party? Hold on closer inspection it looks completely different. Wait, if this isn't Kate." Liam also appeared to have noticed. "What the hell is this? This isn't Kate." Unaware of the bride and groom's shocked expressions, the MC continued to progress through the slides. And then she met the groom, Liam, at the company. According to the bride's mother, she initially trained Liam when he joined the company. Eventually, the two got married. Following this introduction were photos from my wedding with Liam. The MC couldn't hide their confusion, sensing something was amiss. They fell silent. It was then that my mother stepped forward and took the microphone. "Allow me to take over from here and explain," she said calmly as she advanced the slides. "Even after marriage, my daughter supported him both personally and professionally. However, as Liam became increasingly busy, he struggled to find time for her. So my daughter planned a spa trip to help him relax." "Wait, please." Kate cried desperately, her face pale, trying to halt my mother. Ignoring Kate's attempts, my mother continued with the slides. The next photo showed Liam and Kate entering the spa hotel together, looking very close. Finally, photos of the bride and groom appeared, and both the MC and the guests fell silent. Liam and Kate appeared even more pale. But Liam declined my daughter's spa trip invitation, citing a business trip he had to attend. He claimed it couldn't be helped due to work commitments. My daughter invited me instead, and it was during that trip that we discovered his affair. With those words, the room erupted into chatter and speculation prompted by my mother's revelation. Wait, an affair? And this wedding is for Kate and Liam. Could this wedding be based on their affair? But why would Kate's mother? To address the guests' inquiries, my mother continued in a measured tone. Liam swore to marry my beloved daughter Emma and promised to make her happy. Instead, he betrayed her by having an affair with her own sister, Kate. "Mother, please stop. Today is supposed to be my wedding day. Can't you celebrate my happiness?" Kate cried, pleading with our mother to halt. Ignoring Kate's pleas, my mother stared coldly at her and replied, "I've always wanted you to be happy, but you were the one who shattered that first." Emma always considered not just herself, but the happiness of our family. What about you, Kate? Have you ever considered how much Emma would be hurt by your actions? Well, she always seemed so content. It's not fair. So instead of being happy for your family, you just got jealous, huh? My mother-in-law retorted sharply. Mother-in-law, please stop. She's your precious daughter too, isn't she? Can't you celebrate our new beginning? Why are you doing this? Kate pleaded, clearly distressed. I can't accept someone as dishonest as you into our family. Today's ceremony made that clear to me. If you truly wanted to start anew with Kate, why didn't you invite a single person from your own company? If you're going to have such a grand wedding, shouldn't you apologize to Emma? It's selfish to invite me and her father without making any effort like that. But Emma has been ignoring me all this time, Liam protested. Of course she has, after what you've done. It's only natural, my mother-in-law replied firmly. But that's all in the past now, isn't it? Do you think her wounds will heal in just 3 years? And do you think you can regain our trust in such a short time? Don't be ridiculous. My mother's voice echoed angrily as she and my father left the wedding venue. I could hear her speaking through the phone. Did you see that, Emma? She asked. Yes, I replied. I'm sorry for bringing up painful things. I couldn't stand seeing those two act as if nothing happened, she explained. No, thank you. I feel relieved. It's like you said everything I wanted to say, I admitted. That's right, Emma. You always keep everything to yourself. I thought it was too kind of you not to tell your colleagues the reason for your divorce. Later, my mother sent me a recording of her conversation with Liam from the wedding. Indeed, as she had said, time doesn't easily heal such wounds. Moreover, Liam showed no signs of remorse, dismissing it all as a thing of the past. I decided to enact my revenge by exposing Liam during a company presentation. I signed up quickly when I saw he was scheduled to speak and soon found myself in a conference room. When it was Liam's turn, his supervisor, unaware of his remarriage, commented, "Liam, you seem even more motivated today, freshly married." "Yes, I'm dedicated to doing my best for my family," he replied cheerfully. He must have known I was present, but that only fueled my determination. I played the recorded audio I received from my mother. The room was startled by the sudden noise from the recording. As they learned about his affair with my sister during our marriage, accusations started flying. "Liam, didn't you claim the divorce was due to different values?" I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Oh really? Did you say something like that?" "Well, I can't comprehend a value system that includes cheating with your wife's own sister. I apologize for bringing personal matters into this important internal presentation. As of today, I have decided to resign. I have endured this because I value this company, but I cannot continue working alongside him any longer." Just as I prepared to leave, the board members intervened to halt my departure. "Wait a moment, Emma. You're a crucial asset to our company. If anyone should leave, it should be Liam." "Huh? But I was considered to have a promising future here. We held high hopes for you in the past, but recently your attire has been less formal and you seem less focused. It appears you have lost the problem-solving abilities you once demonstrated. We don't have the same expectations for you as before." Kate, who had always been inept at housework and had done little even while living with our parents, became a full-time housewife after marrying Liam. Apparently, she left most of the household chores for him to handle. Without my advice to guide him through work challenges, Liam began causing more problems. Word of his affair with his wife's sister spread throughout the company, damaging his reputation. During a board meeting, it was decided that I would stay with the company while Liam would be transferred to a remote location with the expectation of eventual layoff. Kate, who had been enjoying a comfortable life as a housewife on Liam's earnings, quickly abandoned him upon discovering the affair and moved on to another man. Unfortunately for her, the new man turned out to be a typical freeloader burdened with debt. Now she is struggling, working 2 jobs day and night to make ends meet. As they say, what goes around comes around. When you do wrong, it eventually catches up with you. Watching Liam and Kate face the consequences of their actions, I finally felt ready to begin a new chapter in my life. "Come on, play something. There's not much our poor family can do anyway," said someone at my mother-in-law's birthday party. Everyone there, her friends, my husband's friends, and our relatives, looked at me all at once. My mother-in-law, wanting to embarrass me, grinned and stared at me. I slowly put my fingers on the keyboard. My name is Noriko, and I'm a 36-year-old stay-at-home mom. I live with my husband Tom and our daughter Hannah, who's in 5th grade. With a kind husband and a sweet daughter, I should be happy. But there's one problem, my relationship with Hannah. When my mother-in-law saw Hannah, she rushed over and hugged her tightly. "Grandma, it's been so long," said Hannah. "You've grown up and you look pretty again, Grandma." My mother-in-law happily chatted with Hannah, but as soon as she saw me nearby, she glared at me. "What are you doing? Isn't it polite to offer tea or something? Or do you mean to tell me you can't even serve your mother-in-law? Grandma, what's up?" Hannah asked, puzzled. "Oh, why don't you come with me to the mall, Hannah? They have a big buffet there." "Really? I'd love to," Hannah said eagerly, but she glanced at me, looking unsure about leaving us alone. Her eyes darted, unsure of what to do. "Go with Grandma, Hannah. Are you sure?" I reassured her with a smile, and she looked relieved. "Let's go, Grandma," she said happily, taking her grandmother's hand. With a smug look on her face, my mother-in-law whisked Hannah away to the mall. The issue here is that my relationship with my mother-in-law isn't good. When my husband's around, she acts kindly towards me, which makes me feel relieved. But when it's just me and her, she starts saying mean things. "My son told me you only went to a junior college, right?" she'd say. "Yes, I did," I replied slowly. "You hesitated. I wonder why Tom chose you." "What do you mean by that? Do you have a problem with me? Tom is highly educated, graduated from a top private university, and yet he chose you, who was from a poorer background with just a junior college degree. I tolerate you because you're Tom's wife, but honestly, I wouldn't want to be around someone as poor as you. What's the point of having only a junior college degree? You lack education, money, and common sense. You need everything spoon-fed to you. That's why I dislike people with just a junior college education," she said with a cutting tone. Her words hurt me deeply. "I'll try to be polite when others are around, but please keep your distance from me," I replied, stung by her unreasonable argument. Since then, when we're alone, she's been unkind to me. I've tried to ignore her insults, following my strategy of minimizing contact with her, as my mother-in-law suggested. But the real problem is my daughter, Hannah. She adores her grandchildren and visits us every 3 days. Most times she takes my daughter away from me, just like she's doing now. My heart ached as I watched my daughter anxiously ask me, "Don't you and Grandma get along?" "We're okay, sweetheart," I replied, trying to hide my own hurt. "But Grandma says you're mean to her," my daughter said. "It's the other way around," I wanted to say, but I held back. Instead, I just said, "Maybe we had a disagreement the other day." "Mom, you have to make up with Grandma," Hannah insisted. "You're right. We'll try to patch things up." I forced a smile at her directness, though inside it hurt. One day, my mother-in-law came over and said, "Hannah told me you teach piano." "Yes, I teach her. I'm teaching her on my father's old grand piano. It's a bit worn, but it's precious to me. I used to play my favorite songs on it, and now I'm teaching my daughter," I explained. "Mom, I want to learn too," Hannah chimed in. So she started learning piano from me. I'm not the best teacher, but her enthusiasm touched me. Teaching her became a special and fulfilling time for both of us, despite the challenges. While I pondered this, my mother-in-law's expression turned stern. "Step aside," she said in a low voice. "What?" "Step aside." "But I've been teaching Hannah," I protested. "Not anymore. I don't want someone like you with your background teaching her. Don't you care about Hannah's future?" Shocked by her tone, I stammered, "What's wrong?" "Do you want to argue?" But she cut me off, saying, "Never mind. Let me put it in simple terms for you. I'm saying I'm a better teacher than you." "Why?" "Because I graduated from a top music school, unlike you from a lesser college," she asserted. "What? Have you heard of TG University?" I retorted. I swallowed hard as my mother-in-law boasted about her education. "I graduated from a prestigious 4-year university, unlike you," she bragged. "I see, I didn't know it was TG University," I replied. "TG University is top-notch, especially for music students. If my mother-in-law graduated from its piano department, she must be highly skilled. Even someone like you can understand that, right? You're not on the same level, she sneered, making my throat tighten. TG University truly is a light, as my mother-in-law claimed. It's clear that my daughter would benefit from learning from her. But it also means sacrificing more of my time with my daughter to my mother-in-law. She already takes up a lot of our time, and now she wants to take even more. That's something I can't allow. The time I spend teaching piano to my daughter is precious and irreplaceable, I asserted. Isn't that selfish of you? She sighed loudly, interrupting me. That's not what I meant. What do you mean then? You're standing here, a graduate of a prestigious teaching university, a top musician. Normally, people would pay for your teaching expertise. But out of kindness, I'm offering to teach for free. How can you reject that just because you want to teach? You're not even that skilled. Don't you dare speak to me like that. Fine, I'll play for you right now. I'll show you I have the ability to teach my daughter. Who wants to hear a poor woman like you play? Your playing will make our ears bleed. What can I do to prove myself to you? You don't even need to prove anything. You just need to follow my instructions. I've already spoken to Hannah. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What had my mother-in-law told my daughter without involving me? I felt a surge of anxiety. I've already spoken to Hannah. I'll be teaching her piano from now on. I graduated from a renowned music academy and I'm better at piano than you. You agreed it would be best for her. Why are you being so selfish? I didn't expect you to oppose this so strongly. With my qualifications, it's only natural for me to take over. Did you never consider my opinion? You're incredibly stubborn. It's decided, so stop being selfish. With that, my mother-in-law swiftly left. Since then, she's been coming to our house daily to teach Hannah piano. I'm not even allowed in the room where they have lessons. During breaks, my mother-in-law always tells me, you don't understand. Hannah has a talent for music, and she needs proper education to develop it. With your limited qualifications, you're not capable of providing that. If you continue as her instructor, you'll ruin her talent. Understand? Yes. Well, that's settled then. You won't be bothering us anymore. Stay out of our way, got it? I fought back tears of frustration as my mother-in-law looked down at me, a pang of pain piercing my heart. I'm going to play piano with Hannah, my mother-in-law said cheerfully, then turned to Hannah. I had once pleaded with my husband to intervene, but he didn't see it as a big deal. What's wrong with her teaching Hannah piano? He asked dismissively. It's not just about teaching piano, it's about taking away quality time from me and Hannah. You're overreacting. I'm sure Mom just wants to lend a hand. Why do you have to criticize her efforts to make your life easier? No, it's not helping. I'll talk to Mom about it, okay? Please don't be so upset. But the truth is, she doesn't take me seriously. From the outside, it might seem like my mother-in-law is being helpful in raising my child. But in reality, she's like a devil trying to snatch my precious daughter away from me. No one understands the pain I feel. It's frustrating, but I have to do what's best for Hannah. I feel so frustrated that all I can do is try to talk myself out of it, I thought, but then the worst happened. Nicole, come here. I was summoned into the piano room, a place I hadn't been allowed to enter recently, and my eyes widened as I stepped inside. A piano. Oh, you recognize it. We just got a new one. My mother-in-law chuckled, gesturing towards a brand new piano beside her. Kelly, what's going on? Where's my father's piano? I got rid of it. You got rid of it? Yes, I got rid of it because it was falling apart. My mother-in-law replied casually, causing my heart to shatter. Why, that was my father's piano, full of memories with him. I choked out. It doesn't matter to me. That old piano doesn't fit me and Hannah. Oh no, how could you? I hoped she was lying, so I questioned her. I called the contractor and had it taken away while you were out, she said without hesitation. You entered the house without permission. What do you mean, without permission? I always do that. There's a big difference between your presence and absence, isn't there? You can't just dispose of someone's property without permission. How could you do that? Shut up. I was being kind by getting rid of that old piano and buying a new one for you. I might regret it, but I don't deserve to be yelled at, she snapped, pushing me out of the room and slamming the door behind me. You clearly don't understand the importance of this piano. Don't even think about touching it without my permission. And you're not allowed in this room either. Right now, Hannah is practicing a song for my birthday party. People like you are disrupting her practice. I had reached my breaking point as the door slammed shut with a resounding thud. That night, I asked Hannah, "Are you practicing a song for Grandma's birthday party?" "Yes, I'm practicing really hard." "Please listen to me, Mom," she replied earnestly. "Yes, of course, I'll listen. By the way, Hannah, I have a favor to ask you." I smiled at her, and she cheerfully replied, "What is it?" Then came the day of my mother-in-law's birthday party. Relatives, neighbors, and friends were all invited, along with some of my daughter's friends. It seemed like my mother-in-law was in a different mood this year. She had sent letters to many people a few days before, insisting that her granddaughter would play the piano for her birthday and she would love for them to come and listen. Her plan worked, as the guests were mostly relatives, neighbors, and my mother-in-law's friends, along with some of my daughter's friends. I'm sure she had instructed my daughter to invite as many friends as possible. My mother-in-law smiled when my daughter brought a lot of friends, saying, "So the granddaughter is playing the piano for me, huh?" I thought maybe it was a mistake to have my daughter practice piano for the party, but I kept quiet. I spent the morning busy making food and a cake for the party. My husband and daughter helped me, but my mother-in-law didn't want to pitch in at all. It was her birthday party, but I wish she appreciated my efforts too. Nonetheless, I was glad to see so many people gathered. Once the preparations were done, my mother-in-law stood up in front of everyone and exclaimed, "Thank you all for coming to celebrate with me." The party began with my mother-in-law's lively voice and exaggerated gestures, as if she were a stage performer. After enjoying the food and chatting for a while, my daughter stood up and moved in front of my mother-in-law. "Happy birthday, Grandma." "I have a present for Grandma," my daughter announced, then took a seat at the piano placed in the back of the room. "Please listen," she said cheerfully before starting to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The tune was sweet, and I could see smiles on everyone's faces, but it wasn't flawless. Clearly, her skills had declined. Anna could have played better. As I pondered this, the performance came to an end. My daughter smiled shyly at my mother-in-law, who praised her, saying, "You did wonderfully. Thank you, Hannah." Then my mother-in-law turned to me, "And now I have a request for you." "Oh, what is it, Hannah?" "I want to hear you play, not the easy pieces, the difficult ones. Can you?" For some reason, my mother-in-law seemed puzzled by my daughter's request. Her eyes darted around, but when she caught sight of me, she put on a sickening smile. "Yes, you may play. But before I do, Nicole, didn't you say you were going to play a piece for me?" My mother-in-law looked at me and said something like that. I had never promised such a thing, but I felt pressured. She was going to do it? What? I hadn't heard my mother play in a long time. "Yes, Hannah. Your mother is going to give us a wonderful performance for Grandma." "Wow, I'm looking forward to it," my mother-in-law said after seeing her granddaughter smile, then turned to me. "It's my birthday, so I'll let you touch this piano." With that, she pushed me and made me sit down in front of the piano. The whole room was buzzing with excitement after Hannah's lovely performance, and all eyes were on me, eagerly anticipating what I would play next. "Well, there's not much a poor person like you can play anyway, right?" My mother-in-law whispered in my ear, so only I could hear. It was like she was daring me to embarrass myself in front of my daughter. "Come on, Nicole, play for us. Everyone's curious to hear what you'll play," she mocked. Despite her taunts, I quietly replied, "Okay." I slowly placed my fingertips on the keys, took a deep breath, tapped the keyboard once, and then began to play a piece with great energy. "What?" was my mother-in-law's puzzled voice in the background as I carefully played the piece, making sure not to falter in my finger movements. The piece was Chopin's Etude Op. 10 No, one famously used as the opening song of the Annam Piano Forest. It's a very challenging piece for performers, but it's one I've practiced extensively and become quite skilled at. There was no way I could fail. I flawlessly finished the piece, then stood before the stunned audience and gracefully bowed. Instantly, applause erupted from the crowd. Surrounded by eyes filled with emotion and excitement, and applause filled with admiration, I basked in a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. My mother-in-law, standing beside me, muttered, "No way." When I asked her what was wrong, she huffed in response. "It's nothing," she said firmly. I countered with a confident smile. "You seem impressed. Where did you learn to play like that?" My eyes conveyed a silent message. Despite growing up poor, I still managed to excel. My mother-in-law turned to Tom, asking, "What?" Nicole won an award for excellence in a junior piano concert when she was in high school. It's been a while since I've heard her play, but she's still amazing. Her performance was beautiful yet powerful. No, I'm not that great. There are plenty of people better than me. I quickly deflected, then turned back to my mother-in-law. You graduated from that famous music college, TG University, right? Yes, I did. Why do you ask? I'm quite curious. How do you teach piano to Hannah? What kind of music do you focus on? Well, that's not really relevant at the moment, is it? Why not? You graduated from a renowned music university and a teacher's college as a musician. Surely you have some input on her education, right? No, it's not necessary to worry about that. Just play something for me. What? Please play a piece of music I've always wanted to hear. Your wonderful performance. I would even ask my daughter to play it for me. My mother-in-law's eyes widened at my request. Yes, I only had one request for my daughter, to have her grandmother play. So, could you please ask Grandma to play for her birthday party too? That's all. But that's all it would take to complete my revenge. While I embarrassed myself in front of all my relatives by playing poorly, my mother-in-law would hide behind an excuse, claiming I was too ill to play. But I'm sorry, I can play just fine. Ah, I want to hear it too, my daughter agreed cheerfully. Grandma's fingers aren't feeling well, so she only lets me play simple pieces. Is that so, Hannah? How did you learn to play the piano from your grandmother? At first I played the songs she taught me, but they were all easy. So these days, I play while looking at the music sheets you gave me. Grandma always compliments me on how good I am. Do you get any advice from your grandmother? No, she always says she has nothing to teach me because I'm a genius, so I don't get any advice from her. I see, I got the point. I had thought that Hannah's piano skills were declining, but that was what it was all about. My mother-in-law had told me that she would teach my daughter the piano, but in reality, she didn't teach her much, and the whole time she was teaching her, my daughter was teaching herself. I want to hear my grandmother play, not the usual easy pieces, but the harder ones like my mother used to play for me. Grandma, I'm looking forward to it. Then let's listen to my grandma play together. Yes, that's what Grandma said. She plays the piano better than Mom. That's why I've always wanted to hear her play. I'm so happy for you. Today you'll finally get to hear your grandmother play. I'm so happy. Despite her smiling, my mother-in-law's face began to turn pale. What's wrong? Hannah wants to listen to your performance. No, I'm not feeling well today. She's waiting for you to play a simple nursery rhyme for her. Hannah is really looking forward to it. Yes, but I'm not. My mother-in-law started sweating, her eyes darting nervously at my words. What's wrong? You can't play. What? You can't play? After that performance? Come on, you graduated from TG University, right? You can play just as well as I can, no problem, right? I graduated from a teaching university, but my major was conducting. Even if you're studying conducting, piano is one of the subjects, right? I chose an instrument other than the piano. With my small hands, I'm limited in the pieces I can play. There's no way I can play as fluently as you. My mother-in-law's outburst caused a stir among the people around us, who started to wonder what was happening. You can't play the piano, huh? But weren't you proudly telling us that you were teaching your granddaughter to play? You said you played better than your daughter-in-law's poor piano, didn't you? What do you mean? The suspicious gazes around me turned towards her. It's not like that, okay? I'm not, you guys, I do play the piano. Hey, Grandma. My daughter's eyes widened in genuine curiosity as she asked her grandmother a question. Can't you play the piano? Hannah, if you don't play the piano, why did you lie and say you do? No, Hannah. I didn't lie, it's true. When I asked her why she was always so kind to me but so strict with my mother, she told me it was because my mother mistreats her, and I thought that was true. What are you talking about, Hannah? Could it be that you're really tormenting my mother? My mother-in-law screams in sorrow at my daughter's words. No, it can't be, of course not. Nicole and I are good, aren't we, Nicole? No way. What are you talking about, Nicole? There is no way I can get along with someone who would throw away a piano given to me by my father, my most precious possession. What? My daughter tilted her head. She said that you said you didn't need it anymore, so she threw it away and bought a new one. It was very precious that I got from my father. Even if I couldn't play it anymore, I wouldn't throw it away. Really? Then why did you throw it away, Grandma? Didn't you know that it was my mother's precious treasure? To her daughter's words, my mother-in-law just shook her head and said, No, 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 no. The conversation between us caused the guests to start fussing. My husband, sensing that the mood had deteriorated, asked the guests to leave, saying, Let's call it a night. He began to urge them to leave the room. Wait, it's really not true. There is a reason for this. There's a reason. What's the reason? She said you told her you didn't need it anymore, so she threw it away and bought a new one. But it was special, a gift from my dad. Even if I couldn't use it anymore, I wouldn't throw it away. Really? Then why did you throw it away, Grandma? Didn't you know it meant a lot to my mom? To her daughter's question, my mother-in-law just shook her head and kept saying, No, no, no. Our conversation upset the guests. My husband felt the tension and asked everyone to leave, saying, Let's end the night. He urged them to go. Wait, it's not what you think. There's a reason. What's the reason? That's enough, I said firmly, looking at my mother-in-law, who was muttering to herself. Please don't ruin my daughter's talent because of your own selfishness. My words seemed to hit her hard. She sank to her knees. After that day, she never visited our house again. She had made a scene at her own birthday party. No matter how much she might want to, she wouldn't be welcome at our place anymore. And it seemed her relatives and neighbors who were at the party were spreading rumors about her. Now she's being avoided by them. Still, she keeps insisting, It's not my fault, I was framed. That wicked wife set me up. She's going around the neighborhood saying it's not her fault, but nobody believes her. Honestly, it's just typical of her. Meanwhile, my daughter has been practicing piano with me, and she's improving a lot. Mom, I want to play a duet with you. Well, it might be tough until you improve a bit more on the piano. Then I'll practice loads and get even better than you. I'm sure you'll surpass me quickly, Hannah. And I'm going to be a pianist, a pianist, a pianist. And when I perform in front of lots of people, I'll say I became a pianist because of my mom who taught me. She's much better at piano than I am, Hannah. So I'll practice a lot. I'll keep at it. Thank you, Mom. I'm really happy to have peaceful times with my daughter again.
You've inherited over $3 million, right? We've already started constructing a duplex for us to live together. I've even included the kitchen of my dreams, my mother-in-law says in a tone that's almost dreamy. I've quit my job. I'm planning to start a business with the inheritance that Ashley has received. My husband announces, looking oddly pleased. Wait a minute, I've told you I haven't received any inheritance yet, right? You've quit your job, and you're building a duplex. What's happening? Don't lie. It's clear you've inherited. How about we take a trip before the house gets built? How about Hawaii? My father-in-law chimes in, adding to the growing confusion with my husband and my mother-in-law. What on earth are these people thinking? They want to use the precious inheritance I received from my mother and spend it on whatever they please. Even though I was filled with rage, I didn't know what to do. The story goes back a few months ago. My name is Ashley. I'm 38 years old and work as a high school teacher. I married David, an office worker who is 2 years older than me, 12 years ago. Soon after we got married, our only daughter Julie was born, and since then, my days have been filled with work and child rearing. Today is the day I'm visiting my hospitalized mother with my daughter. Oh, Grandma, it's been a while. Well, Julie, welcome. My mother lies in her bed, lovingly stroking Julie's hair. Her hand is noticeably thinner, and her complexion looks poor. Next to my mother's bed stands a middle-aged man wearing glasses and a suit. As I nod towards him, he returns the nod and leaves the room. Mom, who is that man? Just an acquaintance. Don't worry about it. More importantly, Ashley, are you still doing well? And David, is he well? My mother's eyes, a shade close to blue, sparkle softly as she smiles. She met my father, who ran an import-export business overseas, and came to the US as his bride. Raising a child in a foreign country must have been hard, but my mother and father worked together to bring me up. One of the reasons I am able to work as a teacher today is because my mother taught me many things since I was small. I am deeply grateful to my parents who raised me with love in a wealthy family. After my father passed away a few years ago, my mother, now alone, fell ill and was hospitalized. She transferred the business to a relative, and now she spends her remaining days quietly in the hospital. "I'm fine, Mom. Is there anything you need? Just having you and Julie come to see me is more than enough." After having such a conversation and spending a good amount of time talking with my mother, Julie, and I headed home. Julie talks to my mother about things that happened at school and the book she has recently read. She's at that tricky age of 10, but our relationship is good. Even if I take away my parental bias, I think she is a bright and honest child who is growing up well. We're home. "Oh, welcome back. How's my mother-in-law doing?" David asks as he greets us. "Mom is as usual. How about you? Your seminar, was it?" "Oh, I heard some good stuff. Looking forward to the next one." Recently, my husband has been attending seminars on quitting his job and starting a side business. He must want more money, but the company he works for is not top tier. It's not bad, and with my salary, we are doing just fine. I find it distasteful when he is so greedy for money, which I suppose he gets from his parents. Ever since we got married, I've been put off by his parents' excessive stinginess and their habit of begging for small amounts of money whenever we see them, so I've been keeping my distance. They've never given Julie any Christmas gifts. Fortunately, my in-laws live far away, so we don't have to interact much, and my husband does well with household chores, so I guess it's okay. As long as I have my mother, my husband, Julie, and our modest but ordinary life, I'm content. Then one day, I got a call from the hospital. My mother's condition had suddenly worsened, and she was in critical condition. When my family rushed to the hospital, my mother was barely breathing. "Mom? Grandma? No. Ashley, I always wanted you to be happy. Cherish Julie more than anything. I love you." In the end, those were my mother's last words. My mother, who raised me with all her heart alongside my father, adored Julie from the bottom of her heart. My mother's face in the coffin was peaceful, and all I could do was cry. Julie was by my side, crying with me. A little while after my mother passed away, an envelope arrived at our house, a law firm. Ashley was perplexed as she opened the envelope from an unfamiliar sender. Inside was a document stating, "I have been entrusted with your mother's will, which leaves all of her inheritance to you." Ashley and her mother had never discussed the subject of inheritance before, so she was taken aback. However, since the letter had indeed arrived, she decided to visit the law firm on her own. "Hello, I'm the attorney Ed." The man who appeared was the middle-aged gentleman with glasses who had been present when she visited her mother in the hospital. "You were in my mother's hospital room before?" Ashley questioned the man with the familiar face. "Yes, we met in the hospital room. Actually, from that time, I was entrusted by your mother." Hearing his kind voice, Ashley found herself on the verge of tears, and then she was shocked beyond belief. 500 million. Yes, Ashley. When your father passed away, you waived your right to the inheritance so your mother could receive it all. When you add that inheritance to your mother's personal assets, even after deducting taxes, this is the amount your mother has named you as the sole heir. My parents had indeed been wealthy, but I hadn't imagined that they had left such an inheritance. I had never asked my parents for money after getting married and avoided the topic of inheritance as it seemed unlucky. Feeling dizzy, I realized this must be an expression of love from my mother. With that thought, I left the procedures to Ed. Your mother cared about you more than anything. She instructed me to assist you if necessary. Please feel free to discuss anything with me. Thank you. I appreciate your help. Ashley bowed her head several times to Ed and left the room. Time passed, and it was around the time of her mother's 49th day memorial service. her husband, David, began to frequently ask about her mother's inheritance. When they had married, her father was still running his business, so David was vaguely aware that they were wealthy. Each time she asked him to stop talking about it while she was still mourning, he would fall silent, only to subtly bring up the matter of money after some time. The worst were my in-laws. When they came to my mother's memorial service, my father-in-law said, "Ashley, if you are worried about the inheritance, we can help." Huh? Hey, we've had our fair share of disputes over inheritance. When unmarried siblings died, inheritance can be complicated. If you're troubled, feel free to talk about it. That's right. Rely on us too. Yes. Having never shown any inclination to assist them before, she could only give her in-laws a vague response as they put on a knowing facade. And then, about 3 months after her mother's death, David, who had been quiet recently, finally lost his patience. "Hey, have you received your mother's inheritance yet?" A bad feeling swept over her quickly. Ashley lied. The procedures are complicated, so not yet. In reality, she had already completed the procedures and, upon Ed's advice, had deposited the passbook containing the inheritance in a safe deposit box. But it felt right to say that now. "Really? But it's been 3 months since your mother passed away, right? Haven't you done the procedures yet?" "Yeah, so what?" "Well, never mind. I'm going to bed." For some reason, David headed for the bedroom in high spirits. With the nagging unease in her chest, Ashley prepared for work the next day and then headed for bed. The next day, as Ashley and Julie were cleaning up after dinner, the doorbell rang. Julie hurried to the door, and when Ashley poked her head out from the kitchen, she saw her in-laws who had dropped by unexpectedly and David returning from work. "Why are my father-in-law and mother-in-law here?" "It's not a big deal, Julie. Go to your room." Julie glanced anxiously at us and headed to her room. "What's going on?" "Never mind that, Ashley. We have something to celebrate today." Ed, her father-in-law, was in high spirits as he opened their fridge and took out a beer. "Celebration. You inherited more than $300 million, didn't you? We've already started building a duplex house for us to live together. It even comes with a dreamlike modern kitchen." The one who spoke in the dreamy tone was her mother-in-law. "What? What are you talking about, Ashley?" "Be happy. We've decided to build a duplex house. We used half of our savings and the money that Mom and Dad have put aside for the down payment. The loan is under my name, but you can pay it all at once with your inheritance, right? Give back to the two of them. I quit my job. I decided to start a business using that inheritance you received." David, her husband, looked somehow satisfied as he said these words. "Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I told you I haven't received the inheritance yet, didn't I? And what does quitting your job and a duplex house mean? Don't lie. It's clear you've inherited. How about we go on a trip before the house is built? How about Hawaii?" Amidst the escalating chaos, David and her mother-in-law were getting excited, agreeing with what Ed said. Then David said, laughing scornfully, "You're stingy, Ashley. We've looked into it because you kept saying you hadn't received the inheritance. You can't renounce an inheritance if you don't process it within 3 months. Whether you lied or told the truth about not processing, you still have inherited, right? That is, considering the scale of my father-in-law's company, there must be more than 300 million. We'll be able to live comfortably thanks to them. Thank you, mother-in-law. Be sure to prepare the money for the duplex house as soon as possible, and my capital too." Seeing David speak like that made her dizzy. But what on earth are these people who want to use my precious inheritance that I received from my mother as they please and indulge in luxury? Although filled with intense anger and about to yell, she couldn't say a word, worried about Julie, who was in the other room. "I'm going outside for a bit." She called out to the three of them, but they didn't hear her, happily discussing how they would use the inheritance. She went out without even taking her wallet. The night wind was cool, and it was then that the tears came. She went to the hilltop park where she used to come with her mother and cried, holding back her voice. Her anger didn't subside. Feeling frustrated and worn out, her heart was exploited. Her emotions were a mess, but she couldn't just say she wanted a divorce. They still had their child, Julie. Her mother's words, "Take care of Julie above all else," came back to her, and tears spilled again. Suddenly, someone spoke to her. Surprised, she opened her eyes, and the person began to speak softly. 3 days later, she called her husband and in-laws to a restaurant with private rooms. "So you finally came back home after that day. Did you withdraw the money, Ashley? You shouldn't leave home without telling your husband." "Exactly." Ignoring the words of the 3 people, she took out a document. It was a divorce notice already filled out. "David, I want a divorce." "What? What are you saying?" Her husband looked panicked, and her in-laws looked at each other. "I can't go on with you anymore." "What are you saying?" David's face was turning red as he lashed out at her. "You're leaving us after receiving the inheritance. You changed because you got the money, you miser." "That's my words, Ashley." Snap back. "Ever since I inherited my mother's estate, you've been out of control. Quitting jobs to start a business, deciding to live with in-laws without even asking, taking out my savings to build a 2-family home, and then planning a trip to Hawaii. Who is the one who changed when the money came in? I can't possibly stay with such people." "Wait, you can't just divorce me like that." "That's right. Our savings after marriage are shared property. Half of the inheritance belongs to David, no matter what." "That's correct. If it comes to that, we will take $300 million with us." David and my in-laws were foaming at the mouth as they approached me. Just as I was about to respond, the door to the private room slid open. Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma should know better. The inheritance Mom received doesn't become shared property, right, Mr. Ed? There stood my daughter Julie and Attorney Ed. "Julie, and who are you?" "I'm Attorney Ed. Ashley's mother had entrusted me with this matter, and I've been advising Ashley." As Ed bowed, Dave seemed flustered. "That's all well and good, but wait. The inheritance doesn't become shared property?" "That's correct. Inherited property from a deceased parent has not become shared property, nor is it subject to the division of property." "What? You've got to be kidding me. Is this a mistake? That can't be." In front of the flustered 3, I was taken aback. It seems that they really thought that the inheritance I received would become their property. In that case, it's even more reason not to divorce. "I'll cling to you no matter what." My husband with bloodshot eyes shouted out without any regard. "Stop it already?" That was Julie. She continued her calm words. "Since Mom suggested divorce, no. Since Mom inherited the estate. Has Dad ever thought about Mom once? Grandpa and Grandma only ever talk about money. They never once mentioned me. I can't consider such people as family." David and my in-laws were taken aback. The day I was crying about my inheritance, Julie was the one who spoke up. Julie came running after me, and she told me Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma are too much, trying to take Grandma's legacy for themselves. "Mom, I'm on your side. Let's fight this together." With those words, I made up my mind, contacted Ed, and arranged this meeting. "Julie, it's not like that. Dad wants you to be happy." "That's right, Julie dear. You'd be happier living with us, wouldn't you?" "That's right. A child shouldn't interfere." My desperate husband and still assertive in-laws. Julie, with an exasperated look on her face, said, "I'm going with Mom. I can't bear to be with you anymore." Julie said this and looked away. "Anyway, we've made up our minds. Julie and I will be leaving." As I said this calmly, David got angry. "Hey, I've never cheated, and you can't force a divorce. I'll hire a lawyer. We'll get that money one way or another. If that's the case, I will take care of it from here." Ed spoke quietly. "The issue here is whether there are grave reasons for not continuing the marriage, quitting his job, using the household savings without permission, deciding to live together, and Julie is saying she can't bear it. There are various points we can argue. Moreover, your daughter recorded the sound of all of you begging for Ashley's inheritance. That should also serve as evidence." "Damn it." David slumped, and my in-laws turned pale. After seeing that, Julie and I left the restaurant. A year later, thanks to Ed's efforts, my divorce with David was finalized. Julie and I moved into the house my mother had lived in, but there were several times when we received letters saying, "I love you, come back," and David was seen loitering near Julie's school. So we asked Abe to apply for a restraining order. After that, it was quiet. According to the rumors, they actually did build a two-family home. My already retired in-laws had to work in a factory, and although David looked for work, he couldn't find any and is now doing manual labor. I heard from the neighbors that there were constant arguments in the new two-family house because of their troublesome fights. They became disliked by everyone in the neighborhood. Julie and I are still living peacefully, helping each other. A while ago, Julie said, "I want to study abroad in the country where Grandma grew up," so it cut ties completely with my ex-husband. We made up our minds to move overseas. We used a bit of my mother's inheritance, but I'm sure she would be pleased. Now, Julie seems to be enjoying school every day, and I've started working as a teacher there. I hope these peaceful days continue. My uncle urged me to peer through the gap in the stairs. My 4-year-old niece tugged at my sleeve as I hesitated. In front of me lay my husband, unconscious and still on a hospital bed. A week ago, he had been stabbed during a confrontation with a burglar who was still on the run. Upon returning home, my niece's peculiar words echoed in my mind. I decided to check the stairs, and there, in a tiny crevice, I found something bloodied. A shiver ran down my spine in surprise. Could it be someone unexpectedly familiar, possibly the culprit? Fear gripped me. I work in administration at a real estate agency. Last year, I tied the knot with Michael, one of our salesmen, after an office romance. Both of us are 25 years old, and our shared motto was, "We want kids soon." The reason behind this was my sister, and her child Emma, who is incredibly adorable. Whenever I see my 4-year-old niece giggling or pouting, I imagine ourselves as parents. Little Emma possesses a mysterious ability. "Aunt Sophia, your ring is on the bookshelf." Whenever I misplaced something, my niece would pinpoint its location, not just once but repeatedly. Even my sister said, "When in trouble, ask Emma. Somehow, good things happen." Children are said to see ghosts, but I wonder if there's something more to it. Perhaps our future child will also have special abilities. We dreamt of a family with children. However, our newlywed life didn't go smoothly. Shortly after getting married, we started receiving disturbing letters at home addressed to Michael. The words written on them were chilling: break up and disappear. Despite Michael dismissing it as a malicious prank and filing a police report, the identity of the letter sender remained unknown. Our days were filled with anxiety. One day, James, Michael's colleague, visited the General Affairs Department where I worked. It was unusual for someone from the sales department to visit me. When I approached James, he handed me a piece of paper with the same threatening words, "disappear" and "esser," scribbled on it. I gasped, and James looked serious. As a rising star in the sales department, Michael had made enemies, and it was troubling. James crumpled the paper in his hand and said, "I've known Michael since we joined the company. If anything happens, feel free to consult with me." He smiled kindly, offering support in the face of the mysterious threats we were facing. I never anticipated finding Michael in such a dire situation, but having an ally is reassuring. My sister also visited our home, concerned about us despite the unsettling letters. With support from those around us, we stood strong, determined not to let the harassment defeat us. I resolved to stand by Michael. Little did we know what was about to happen. My sister called me in a panic, urging me to come back immediately. It was a Saturday, and Michael, who was supposed to be home after working overtime, was unconscious. I received her call while attending a friend's wedding. Rushing to the hospital, I found Michael lying pale-faced on the bed. I pleaded with him to wake up, gripping his hand, but he remained motionless. The room echoed with the rhythmic beeping of machines, and tears streamed down my face. I wondered why this was happening. My sister, who had been waiting in the room, comforted me. According to the police, our neighbor had discovered Michael collapsed at home with a stab wound. The neighbor had come to deliver a community newsletter and, as usual, opened our front door without hesitation. Fortunately, this act led to the early discovery of my husband. Given the recent spate of burglaries in the neighborhood, the police suspected it might be the work of the burglar. I believed it was the same person who sent those threatening letters. I fervently explained this to my sister, but she interrupted, insisting that she would handle the explanation to the police. She advised me to take a break. I lamented, thinking that if only I hadn't gone to that wedding, maybe Michael would be safe. I prayed for his recovery, but even after a week, he remained unconscious. The perpetrator was still at large. In the hospital room, I spoke to my husband, connected to numerous tubes. There was no response. No matter how hard I tried to hold back tears, they flowed uncontrollably. It was challenging to stay positive, even when people encouraged me to. Turning around, I found James, who had been checking on Michael every day, offering flowers and treats to comfort me. I apologized for showing him such an embarrassing sight. I hastily wiped away my tears, but James leaned in and reassured me, "Don't worry about it." Just then, an innocent voice came from behind. "Aunt Sophia, who's this?" I looked back, and my niece Emma stood there, tilting her head curiously. It was her first time visiting. "Oh, come on," my sister said curtly to Emma and then greeted James. "I apologize for intruding on your family. Well, I'll leave you all to it." With a brief nod to my sister, James placed the flowers down and left the room. Sorry for the sudden visit. Emma insisted on coming to see Michael. My sister looked apologetic, but Emma paid no attention. She stood by the bed, staring intently at Michael's face. "Uncle is saying, look into the gap in the stairs. A barge is there." My niece suddenly blurted out, a mysterious statement from behind. "A barge? You mean those large ships that transport goods at the harbor? And it's under the stairs." However, my sister insisted that Emma might have something important to say. She was dead serious. As we continued visiting, hours at the hospital passed, and my sister drove me home. Before parting ways, she said, "Call me if anything happens." But seriously, was there really a gap under the stairs? I retraced my memories, unlocked the front door, and headed toward the staircase. During the incident, Michael had been found collapsed on the stairs, covered in blood. The police had collected evidence and cleaned up. Everything was already in pristine condition. There's a gap at the edge of the bottom step. I noticed a faint trace of red blood. I shone my flashlight inside and saw something reflecting, glinting in the light. I quickly grabbed some tweezers and pulled it out. It turned out to be something unexpected. Isn't this a company badge? In our company, everyone wears a badge with a company logo as an employee ID. The familiar badge was dried and stained with a significant amount of blood. It must have been squeezed into the gap because of the blood. Come to think of it, the police mentioned an unnatural scratch on Michael's fingertip. Could he have pushed something into the gap? The hidden company badge might be a message from Michael, indicating who the culprit is. I immediately called my sister. "See, something was found after all. Let's go together to report it to the police," I suggested as my sister bustled around on the other end of the phone. I heard my niece's voice. "If there's no barge, you need later. It's troublesome for one person who's being a nuisance." What another riddle is this? Another clue related to the case? I leaned forward, asking, but all I heard from the phone was Emma's giggles. Emma had accurately guessed something about the space under the stairs, and I suspected this riddle held a clue to the perpetrator. I stared at the blood-stained company badge in my palm. Michael must have left a crucial clue in his desperate struggle, enduring immense pain until he lost consciousness. I won't let Michael's message go to waste. I'll catch the criminal. I vowed to uncover the cowardly perpetrator and seek revenge. Later, I promptly delivered the badge to the police and went to visit my niece. If there's no barge you need later, it's troublesome for one person who's being a nuisance. Emma's words intrigued me. I asked her for more details. Hey Emma, what does it mean when you say I need a barge later? Is it too late? Emma shook her head. No, not like that. I'm still puzzled. When you say it's troublesome for one person who's being a nuisance, are you talking about the number of people? Would 2 people be less of a nuisance? No, that's still too many. It's about being bothersome. My niece wore a smug expression, but the mystery only deepened. I had no idea what she was talking about, and I let out a groan. My sister, equally puzzled, hemmed. There must be some meaning to it. Despite her uncertainty, I decided to leave her house and head to a cafe to clear my thoughts. As I sipped my coffee and pondered, a man in a suit sitting at the adjacent table stood up, leaving his smartphone behind. Excuse me, you've forgotten your phone, I called out. He hurried back, relieved, and replied, thank you. It's my work phone, and losing it would mean writing an incident report. At that moment, something clicked in my mind. Finally, the answer to the riddle became clear. I dashed back to my workplace. What followed was a whirlwind of events that revealed the truth. 5 days later, I found myself in a hospital room with my unconscious husband. It's been a while. Why did you take 5 days off work? He asked, stirring from his slumber. I didn't see you at the hospital either. I was worried, James said during his visit, ignoring the bouquet he offered. I looked him straight in the eyes and quietly asked, despite being so close to my husband, why did you stab him? James's face turned pale at my sudden accusation. What are you talking about? Isn't the culprit a burglar? He smiled kindly as always, trying to play it off. I took the blood-stained company badge I found under the stairs out of my pocket and showed it to him. Is that our company's badge? The Lear my niece mentioned wasn't a ship at the harbor. It referred to the company badge. We've been receiving harassing letters at home, and my husband hid the company badge to reveal the culprit. The culprit isn't a burglar. It's someone close within the company, I said, looking at James with conviction. You're not seriously suspecting me, are you? After all I've done to care for you. He reached for my hand with a strange smile. I pushed away his hand and showed him a copy of his disciplinary report that I found in HR. Emma's statement about needing a barge later meant needing the letter of apology to the company because he lost his badge. 2 days after my husband was stabbed, he wrote the incident report. Could that be Michael's company badge? His badge was properly at home. I swiftly dismissed his feeble excuse. James clenched his lips in frustration, but he wasn't giving up. You're shaken because of Michael's stabbing. From now on, I'll be there for you in Michael's place. His unfocused eyes drew closer. I deftly sidestepped him and pulled out documents from my bag. It was the drive recorder data from the company car he always used. You came to our place at the time of the incident, even though there are no business partners nearby, right? As the data manager for the company's drive recorders, I quickly analyzed James's movements during the incident. Perhaps he had considered erasing the data later, but the company car's recorder was locked to prevent unauthorized tampering. Did you have feelings for me? I asked, watching James squirm. After questioning other colleagues, it became clear that James had secretly harbored feelings for me all along. Furthermore, it was revealed that James resented Michael for supposedly stealing me away from him. Emma's riddle, it's troublesome for one person who's being a nuisance, meant that if someone already had a spouse, Michael's presence would be an obstacle to their marriage. You held a grudge and harassed us, fearing we might get divorced. That's disgusting. James clenched his fists in anger at my use of the word disgusting. I liked you much more than Michael ever did. I thought scaring you would lead to a breakup. He stomped his feet in frustration. Since the letters alone weren't effective, I decided to put a weapon in your mailbox. I thought it would wake you up in fear. Unfortunately for him, Michael unexpectedly returned home earlier than planned and caught James in the act of pulling out the knife. James's stomping intensified as he arrogantly accused me of being the culprit. "Do you realize how terrified Sophia is?" He warned me never to come near his wife again. "So, in your anger, you've used the knife you were holding to stab my husband." "Yeah, that's right. It was all for you. Now I just need to finish him off." James defiantly rushed toward the bed, attempting to strangle Michael. Desperate to protect my husband, I grappled with James. Then, unexpectedly, Michael's weak voice cut through the chaos. "Enough already." James froze momentarily at the unexpected interruption, seizing the opportunity. I pushed James with all my strength, and he crashed into the door with a loud thud. The curtain he grabbed tore apart, and the hospital staff rushed in, alarmed by the strange noise echoing through the halls. "Call the police?" I shouted. The staff gathered around, helping restrain James and making emergency calls. Later, when the police arrived, and I explained everything, they took James into custody. He cried out in desperation. We were so close to being happy. "What nonsense are you spouting? There was never any chance of happiness for you." I stared at James, pushing him away with a resolute tone. "I've loved you all along. I really have." James continued to sob like a child, but his selfish claims held no sway. "The only person I love is my husband. Stay away from me forever," I told him sternly. As James was led away by the police, he muttered. Later, Michael regained consciousness and testified against James, leading to his conviction. James would spend about 7 years behind bars. Michael demanded $115,000 in compensation. Even if James were released, losing his job would likely cause financial hardship. As for me today, I invited my sister and Emma over for lunch with Michael. As we sat around the table, my niece grinned and said, "The new chair isn't just one, it's two." My husband and I exchanged glances. "It seems I'm pregnant with twins. I'll need to visit the obstetrician soon." How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time. My name is Rachel, and currently, I reside in an annex of my in-laws' house with my husband, Stefan. While Stefan lives in the main house with his parents, I am the sole occupant of the annex. Originally, this annex was a small structure built by Stefan's grandfather as a personal project to create a private space. Over time, it has been converted into a living space approximately the size of a room, thanks to my efforts. Initially, Stefan and I lived in a regular apartment for about 3 years after our marriage. However, his parents, who greatly adore him, suddenly expressed their desire to live with Stefan. In response, Stefan, as the dutiful son, declared that he also wanted to be with his parents. Witnessing their emotional reaction, including tears and embraces, I found myself taken aback by the heartfelt scene. Stefan and I first crossed paths at work, where he was my direct subordinate when he joined the company midway through his career. We became a couple after 3 years of dating. Throughout that dating period, he resided at his parents' house. It appears that this prolonged stay fostered a sense of homesickness in both Stefan and his parents. Stefan, who had been pampered at home, seemed to have never been involved in any household chores. After our marriage, when I suggested sharing housework, he appeared reluctant, stating that he had never done any housework before. The problematic aspect was that, despite my intention to divide the chores between us, Stefan seemed to have never considered participating in household tasks himself. I sensed a pattern in all of this. Whenever I attempted to involve him in household chores, Stefan would feign interest for a brief moment, grow disinterested, and eventually say, "This isn't for me. You're better at this, Rachel. You should keep doing it." Both of us were employed, and given my higher position at work, I felt a greater need to share the household responsibilities. However, Encouraging him to help often proved to be more time-consuming than handling everything myself. It reached a point where I found it less troublesome to manage everything alone. The dynamics shifted when I transitioned to remote work. Stefan, seemingly surprised to find me at home every day, initially understood the change. He stopped complaining about my altered lifestyle, or so I thought. It became apparent later that he hadn't fully grasped the implications of my decision. Several years into my remote work, Stefan's parents suddenly visited our apartment, expressing a desire to live with him. Witnessing their emotional reunion, I felt a sense of isolation and bewilderment. Eventually, with Stefan's wish to be with his parents, we made the decision to move into their house. Stefan consistently chose locations close to his parents, whether it was for renting an apartment or selecting a job. For me, remote work made the location irrelevant, but his choices required us to uproot ourselves and quit our jobs. Upon settling into his parents' house, Stefan's mother expressed gratitude, saying, "Thank you for taking care of Stefan all this time. From now on, I will take good care of Stefan. Rachel, please take care of everything else." Initially, I interpreted this as a relief from doing housework for Stefan, but soon I realized her intentions were different. My mother-in-law's tasks involved preparing special meals exclusively for Stefan, meticulously laundering only his clothes, ensuring his shoes and belongings stayed immaculate, and purchasing various items specifically for him. As for all other household chores, those for Stefan's parents and myself, including cooking and laundry, were now solely delegated to me despite my ongoing commitment to work. Now, I found myself burdened with the responsibility of not only managing household chores for Stefan's parents and myself, but also maintaining the cleanliness of the larger family house. The prospect left me disheartened. Despite my efforts, this cohabitation seemed to bring happiness only to Stefan and his parents, with no apparent benefits for me. In fact, it felt like my burdens had increased. During one cleaning session, my father-in-law approached me with a request. He looked apologetic as he explained, "Rachel, I have a favor to ask. Could you contribute some money?" Confused, I inquired further. He elaborated, expressing his difficulty in asking Stefan to contribute to household expenses for both of us. Apparently, Stefan had worked hard, and it felt challenging to request financial contributions from him. Stefan and I had previously agreed to share expenses like apartment rent and other living costs. However, Stefan often tried to get me to pay for various items during our shopping trips, including unnecessary ingredients, alcohol, clothes, and accessories. When I resisted, he would act like a child denied a toy, calling me stingy. Despite these financial disagreements, I found comfort in the fact that, apart from these issues, Stefan didn't interfere much with my everyday life. This sense of comfort changed when we started living together, as Stefan's mother began to disrupt my routine. Unlike Stefan, she relentlessly interrupted my work at home, insisting I prioritize household chores. She would barge into my room, pulling on my clothes, making it impossible for me to focus on my work. Frustrated, I discussed the matter with Stefan, anticipating him to take his mother's side. Surprisingly, Stefan listened and promised to talk to his mother. I hoped for a compromise that would consider both our needs. Little did I know that Stefan's idea of a compromise would involve banishing me to the annex, a new, private room. I approached Stefan with a question about the hut, jokingly asking if I could even demolish it and build a new house. To my surprise, he casually replied, "You can even demolish it and build a new house if you want." Taking his words seriously, I promptly began remodeling the hut according to my taste. Engaged in cleaning, renovating, and changing wallpapers, I noticed that Stefan never once showed his face. Despite being married, it became apparent that Stefan had no intention of living in the remodeled hut with me. As I transformed the space, it dawned on me that within the family living trio, I was the only outsider. There were instances when I found myself alone at home, either when they went out to a barbecue restaurant or when I had to work overtime and missed out on shared meals. While these spirited plans were usually concocted by Stefan's mother, It seemed clear that she might have been the driving force behind my exclusion, perhaps hoping I would quickly leave her son. Despite this, Stefan had given me the freedom to do anything with the hut, and I took full advantage of it, engaging in DIY projects, installing new shelves, and personalizing the space. I made it my own. Interestingly, neither Stefan nor his parents ever visited the hut after I moved out. Although they must have been aware of my renovations, it seemed like I was no longer considered a part of their family, and they had no interest in my activities. Living away from the main house, especially without Stefan's mother around, I began to relish the independence, almost like living alone. I found solace in the fact that staying in the hut prevented her from interfering with my work. Installing new locks and enhancing security during the renovation, I ensured that no one, not even Stefan or his parents, could enter without my knowledge. It led me to reconsider if this new separation wasn't such a bad arrangement after all. However, it seemed my mother-in-law had anticipated my feelings. Unable to tolerate the treatment any longer, I found myself at a crossroads, contemplating my next move. As I settled into the renovated cabin, my mother-in-law's desperation to drive me out became palpable. Her petty harassment started with leaving trash in front of my cabin on garbage day instead of at the collection site. Sometimes, she would host barbecues in the garden without extending an invitation, intentionally wafting the smell of grilled meat towards my cabin. Despite her mild attempts, I couldn't help but smile at her futile efforts to push me away. Then, one day, she summoned me to the main house under the pretense of leftover meat and potatoes. Sensing there was more to it, I went along. Upon arrival, only she was present, and she placed a single piece of paper on the living room table, a divorce paper. It was clear that the real reason she called me was to present this document. If his mother instructed Stefan to submit it, he would do so without hesitation. All that remained was for me to agree, and Stefan and I could be divorced simply by submitting the paper to the city court. With a proud expression, his mother asserted, "Isn't it about time you gave up? There's no reason for you and Stefan to stay married anymore. Get out, you freeloading, unemployed woman." I was taken aback by her audacity, but her certainty in her plan only fueled my determination. Thrilled by the prospect of freedom, I eagerly asked to take the divorce paper, stating, "I'm going to the city court right now. Thank you so much." My mother-in-law, who had likely expected me to resist divorce, was left dumbfounded by my unexpected response. Having submitted the divorce paper at the city court, I wasted no time in packing my belongings. Feeling it was necessary to inform Stefan's mother about the divorce, I headed to the main house and informed her that the process had been successful. Regarding the cabin I renovated, I assured her that I would leave it as is, and she was free to demolish it or use it as she pleased. My positive attitude about leaving surprised even my mother-in-law, who, though seeming happy about my departure, wished me luck as I packed. On the day of my departure, Stefan and his father, seemingly realizing that I was truly leaving, expressed concern, asking, "Are you really going? What will we do without Rachel?" I smiled and thanked them for letting me use the cabin. I explained that since there was no point in being married anymore, and we were now divorced, it was time for me to move on. As I organized my belongings, I completed my move to a luxury apartment, a change I had been arranging for. Not long after settling into my new apartment, my mother-in-law called me awkwardly, saying, "Rachel, I need to ask you something." Cheerfully, I responded, "What's up? How's the cabin I'm using right now?" She then inquired about money, mentioning that Stefan had told her I was giving his father $33,000 a month. Confirming that it was true, I explained that despite her earlier accusation of being an unemployed freeloader, I was indeed working. She seemed surprised, thinking I had quit my job. I clarified that I hadn't quit but left the company to become the president of a new company, setting up a remote work system. Her reaction was one of disbelief, and I sighed, realizing that even Stefan was unaware of my promotion. Considering his attitude since we started living together, it seemed he never truly thought of himself as a husband. When asked about my earnings, including my side job, I nonchalantly mentioned it was roughly around $2 million. I may have exaggerated a bit with the $2 million figure. It's just a hassle to explain the exact figures. With that much money, could you lend us some? Actually, Father was laid off, and he kept it hidden. We've been managing somehow with the $3,000 you've been giving us. Neither Stefan nor I knew about it. It all made sense to me now. My father-in-law's words about it being pitiful to ask his son for money were just a pretense to get me to pay. He probably assumed I had money due to my superior position at our former company, and as a result, sweetly scammed me out of $3,000 a month under the guise of living expenses. In the end, I didn't mind too much since it allowed me to live peacefully in that quiet cabin. Well, I'm divorced from Stefan now, so I don't have any connection with your family, right? When I asserted this, my mother-in-law pleaded, "That's not true. To me and to Stefan, you're still family. Come back to us." I immediately declined, recognizing the potential for being used again. Stepping back into a relationship with Stefan would bring me no benefits. We were now complete strangers, and I found it uncomfortable for them to keep calling me family. Besides, they were the ones who drove me out in the first place. I'm really enjoying my life alone now. It's pretty much the same as when I was married, mostly living alone. The difference is, back then, I didn't spend money on myself, and $3,000 was taken from me every month. I prefer my current life much better. Goodbye, then. I ended the call without hesitation, not understanding why they thought I would return. For my mother-in-law, it must have been a last-ditch effort. In fact, Stefan's salary wasn't that great, and he had a habit of saying, "I can't do it," and passing work to others. This trait, displayed in both our personal life and at the office, left him deemed unreliable, and he remained a regular employee without any salary increase. On top of that, with his father laid off and his mother being a housewife, they couldn't maintain their large house and ended up selling it. Now the three of them are living in the cabin I renovated. While it's just right for one person, it must be quite uncomfortable for three people in that cramped space. Since then, I haven't thought about them and continue to live peacefully.